Mr. Tisha, I think you will have to excuse me. I will be back in 1 minute. I will be back.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Best solution is not sufficient. Do anything and make my son alive. Nothing should happen to him. Ashok. Oh! Oh!
Father! A person who tries to kill the emperor will be subjected to rigorous imprisonment.
Next on.
Kunao ambao wanapenda kujidhalilisha ili wapate msaada ama kunufaika kwa njia ile ama nyingine.
Atakuwa ni mtu ambaye atatangaza kwa kila mtu, ijulikane na dunia mzima kwamba yeye kapatikana na mtihani. Unapokuwa na shida zako, ni vyema kuwa na haya, kutanguliza haya.
तो बस एक ही धुन है, अब तो बस
It'll be okay. I'll look after you.
You touch her and I'll kill you.
Walk away while you still can.
What do you think I am?
We're looking for his movie. Sorry, who? Everybody talks about power, but they don't really understand.
You help find her, please.
You need to contact the police.
No police.
Next on.
Another week, another show.
Yeah, my advice to parents is that you should always support your children's talent, because you never know where it will take them.
We will be learning about a news anchor, newscaster, or reader, and the difference. God will make a way when it seems to be no way. God will make a way when it seems to be no way.
Good morning, and thank you so much for creating time for News Check on this 21st day of October 2020. We are hoping that you're keeping warm wherever you are. It's very cold right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. But either way, we are going to be warming up your morning by having conversations that will be informing you on some of the issues that touch on how you can better and enhance your life wherever you're catching this broadcast from, as well as giving you links of events that are shaping the news on this 21st day of the 10th month, the year 2020. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter is Lucy Mwaura. Today, lined up ahead on the program, we will be talking about road safety. And of course, we are also going to be linking up with our reporters who are out and about tracking some of the day's events for you. There is an ongoing presser that we are expecting from KMPDU that should be happening any time from now. And of course, we are also going to be looking at a unique surgery that has happened. The Kenyatta National Hospital today is expected to be giving an update on a successful hand surgery on a 7-year-old boy. We are going to be getting the details of this unique and very successful milestone in the health sector in our country as we proceed in the course of this particular program as well, among other stories that our news team is working on for you. So the day's coverage of the latest happenings begins right now on News Check. Remember, it's a program that invites you to share your views, opinions, and questions. So you can do that at KBC Channel 1, at Serfine_Achieng on Twitter and on Facebook. You can also communicate with me at Serfine Achieng. Now, allow me bring in my guest for the program this morning. We are talking about road safety. And of course, we are going to be shifting this conversation to focus on taming the border menace in the country. And I'm talking about none other than Mr. David Njoroge Kiarie. He is the chairman of the Road Safety Network Association. Thank you so much for creating time for us.
Thank you very much.
Perhaps a good point to start this conversation would be for you to break down for us what the Safety Network Association is all about, so that for viewers who have been concerned about road safety and stakeholders who should be doing something to enhance this in our society, they can get to understand more about, what you do.
Thank you very much. Normally, our main work is to make sure that our roads are safe. This is to give civic education to the pedestrians, border riders, or stakeholders involved on road safety. The government, where we see there is loopholes, we try to negotiate with the government and the bodies which is the relevant bodies. So that is our main job. Yes, as Road Safety Association of Kenya. Yeah. And
after having said that, I would then ask you this question. From where you sit, do you feel that our roads are safe?
Let me say they are not at all safe. Our roads are not safe. One, because we are supposed to be responsible, all of us, on our roads. And one, we don't want to follow the laws, which our government has tried very much to give us enough laws in this country. But those people who are supposed to implement, the enforcement is not there. So somewhere people are sleeping on their jobs. So, and we are trying to push as much as we can, because we are losing so many people in this country. And we always start reacting when we get the figures. Like 2 weeks ago, when the figures were released, it was 2,600 people had died on our roads. That is the time we saw police running on the roads, coming up with roadblocks, to check on what? On the people who have died? No. So we are saying now we have to look for a new approach about this, because it has been a discussion. Year come, year go, we keep on discussing and we keep on losing our people. So something must be done to make sure that we save these lives.
What is that thing that needs to be done? We'll be talking about that in a bit. But now that you've brought up the issue of numbers, allow me just paint a picture for our viewers on how bad the situation is and why we need to be having this conversation and why we need to do something as soon as yesterday to stop, what we are witnessing in our roads. You've just talked about some numbers that were released 2 weeks ago, and I would like also to share something that stood out immediately after some of the COVID-19 restriction measures were lifted. This is around the month, or just almost at the start of the month of October. Between October 2nd and 4th, there were quite a number of road accidents that led to the death of about 60 people. And this, according to the National Police Service, they say that most of these deaths were strongly, aligned to the fact that on the first weekend, most bar operations had commenced since the COVID-19 restrictions had been lifted, and these deaths may have been attributed to speeding and drinking while driving. So 60 people within a span of just 2 days. This is something that we cannot just take lightly. And just taking you back, the number of people who died in road accidents last year increased by 13.6% to 3,500 1,586. This is according to the economic survey of the year 2020. And it is something that just paints a picture of how these numbers keep rising and how unfortunate the trajectory of the curve of road accidents is taking shape in our country. I'd leave the border sector aside and now bring you in on that particular matter, just to also paint a picture for us on how the situation is when it comes to the accidents that involve the border riders and even those who use that means of transport, and why, when we are talking about road safety, we need to break it down and look at the different types of means of transport, and why the border menace is such an issue today.
Let me say, one, we have to understand that because of our economy, we have so many jobless people outside there. And now this business of border, when it came, most people thought it was the right business to do and get something for a living. And like today, we are talking of about 1 million riders out there. And when these things came, there were no proper rules and regulations which were put in place. So by the time these things started happening and our people started dying, the riders, this is the time the government came rushing to make sure that they put the rules and the regulations. And you remember sometime last year, Achieng was very vocal on this, how we are going to streamline our that industry. But all of a sudden, we don't know what exactly happened, because even today, we have never, the audit has never come out. And the measures which were taken, seriously speaking, nothing is happening. Today, you will see a rider out there just riding his motorbike without a helmet. They drive without licenses. These people are not properly trained. And this as a business, and for sure, we cannot do away with it without those riders. But proper measures should be taken, and that is our government. The same thing they did in COVID. We could see the Ministry of Health, the good work they did in this country, plus our president. They came up very strong, and out of the measures which were put, that is the reason we did not have so many deaths. But now, even compared the deaths we have in COVID and the people we have lost on our roads, we have lost a bigger number compared to COVID. And we are still losing these people. And even if you compare from January to this month, how many people have died in COVID? Very few. How many people have died on road safety on our roads? So many. So and this thing is continuing. This is the time our country is opening up. So now you can start imagining what is going to happen, because people don't want to follow the law. The way people were pushed that you cannot even walk on a street without a mask. You must wash your hands. You must do all these to make sure that we avoid COVID. The same thing should be done on our roads, because there are rules which are supposed to be followed, and these rules are not followed. The enforcers are not there. Nobody is there. They just come when things have happened. Today, if you have an accident happens and 10 people die, today you will see this country, everywhere you go, you will see crackdowns. They come when things have happened. Why can't we forget about that and say we don't want anybody else to die on our roads? Because the accidents which happen in this country, we cannot call them accidents. They are crashes. They are things which can be avoided. Because in a fraction of a second, you'll do a mistake and you are gone. But if proper rules are followed, I'm telling you, these numbers will reduce. If the people who have been given the job to do, they do their work the right way, these things will stop. But to us as Road Safety Association of Kenya, we are saying, we are blaming even the leadership. Because if the leadership can come out very strong, make sure that everybody understands what are you supposed to do when you get into that road. Today we see everything, anything is happening everywhere. Licenses are coming. You'll find somebody getting a license when he's at home. All right.
Let me take you back a bit. And I like, how this conversation is taking shape. Yeah. You say that the leaders ought to step in and ensure that every person understands what they're supposed to do when they're on the roads.
Exactly.
I believe before you get to a point where you are on the road, either you are cycling or you're driving a vehicle, there's a process that you're taken through in terms of the training, and even before you get the license to do that.
Yes.
During that process, isn't that the right time to actually ensure that this person knows what they're supposed to be doing on the roads, not blaming the leaders?
Let me tell you, as I told you, from that process, the starting process is rotten. That's what I want to tell you. Because first of all, our driving schools, can we talk of driving schools in this country? What that process whereby somebody is supposed to be taken over that process, that is what we are lacking. That is what we are asking. Before somebody is given that license, there is that process which he must go through that process.
So is that system working?
The system is not working. This is why I'm telling you, today you can get a license when you are there, just seated there. If you have your money, the license will come. And that is the wrong way. Because when you get that license, you don't know how you're supposed to drive that vehicle on the road. So automatically when you're given that license and you are not properly trained, what will happen? It is only in Kenya, and I want to tell you, and in Africa countries, whereby you can just get a license the way you want. If you go to Europe, getting a license is something you have to work for. They have to make sure that you understand this process, that before you get in your vehicle, first of all, you must wear that safety belt, because it is about your life. But we don't have that. That is where the problem is. And where I'm mentioning leadership, because we could see what happened when COVID came, the leadership, whatever the measures which were put in place. Because already we did not have proper laws of COVID, but they were put in place and everybody was forced to it. To tell you for sure, Kenyans need to be forced, because even giving you way where there is way, they can't give you way.
Isn't that supposed to be the last resort, though? Because if we are looking at something that has been a long-term problem, that means whatever has been done before has failed to work. The laws have been there. We remember the time when the late Mishuki was really in charge of the transport sector. The Mishuki rules, they worked for some time, and then we kind of like relaxed on them, the safety belts, the speed governors and all that. We remember when Matiang'i, really cracked the whip on the transport sector and imposed quite a number of rules in that particular industry. They worked for some time, and then we relaxed. Isn't it about time we think of another direction of addressing this problem, as opposed to just putting on laws and rules and being tough and punishing those who using punitive measures?
Let me tell you, when Michuki came in, there's nothing Michuki did. There was nothing to do with the Michuki rules. The rules were there. All what he did is to make sure that he enforced those rules. Now, immediately he enforced the rules, things changed. When Matiang'i came and enforced, we could see the change which was there. So we need people to enforce those rules. Because as I'm telling you, a very good example with Michuki, as you have mentioned, Michuki did nothing. It was only to enforce these rules. And we reduced this number by 30% during his time. So we need proper leadership. People who will command. People who, even if it is that whip, because here we are talking of lives. We are losing lives. So what is better? Is it when they are, today, I will tell you, what does the Ministry of Transport do? We even people don't know who is the minister on that area, because
really?
Seriously,
you do not know who is
who will know what do we see them doing? Nothing. We could see what Kagwe did. Kagwe enforced, and things were followed. Now, from the Ministry of Transport, when things went very bad, that is when, again, because of enforcement, our president shifted that again to the Ministry of Interior. And we could see a lot of changes, and many things changed, and we started reducing the number. But in between, I don't know what happened.
All right. We'll just continue, picking up on this argument on whether it is the rules vis-a-vis something else, like behavior change or awareness that ought to work in, just bringing back sanity on our roads. But it's a conversation that we are having this morning, talking about road safety, and we invite your feedback. So do you have any question, any concern? Are you a road user right now? Are you on the roads? Is there anything that you're witnessing that you ought to bring to light? We welcome your views right here on News Check at KBC Channel 1 is where you can communicate with us at Serfine_Achieng and Serfine Achieng on Facebook. I'm having a sit down in studio with David Njoroge, the chairman of the Road Safety Network Association. So, Mr. Njoroge, you were talking about, you have a strong feeling that if we have the right person to enforce the laws that are currently in place, then we can actually go a long way in bringing back sanity on our roads.
I tell you.
But before you react on that, allow me also bring to your attention something that has worked in other sectors, in other areas where we've had such issues. Like when we talk about the issue of alcoholism, teenage pregnancies, talking about eradicating backward cultures like FGM. People who have, had a voice on such issues have said what has worked is going back to the community level and investing in behavior change, investing on awareness campaigns, and helping that person to take individual responsibility of their own safety and their own interest. That is what has worked. Don't you think that is probably a direction that we can take also to bring back sanity on our roads?
It is a very good direction. But who will do that? That is the question I asked you. It is the leadership.
Stakeholders like yourself.
Stakeholders, but we need the real help from the government. Because now, even if today we are trying to write letters to the ministry, doing everything, this time we are saying the head of state now must intervene. We are losing a big number of people. Now, it is now him to intervene, because I'm 100% sure if he intervenes in this, the way he did with COVID, I'm telling you this thing will be a thing of the past. And we are going to save a number. Today, if we say we want to do whatever you are saying about civic education, we go there down, that is the work of the government. That is exactly what we want the government to do. We want people trained. Before those days, these things were done in school. Even it was in our curriculum, whereby you were taught how to close a road. This is called a car. The speed is like this. You must turn right, left. We have this zebra crossing. This is the meaning. This is what you should do when you reach on a zebra crossing. Don't close the road where there is no zebra crossing, and make sure you first turn left, turn right, turn like that, and then you go through. This is now not there. So with civic education, that we've been pushing that to go to the level of education, so that people are trained before they leave the school. They will know. We were taught about the bicycle, we were taught about the mkokoteni, anything which is used on the road. Today, that curriculum is not there. And that is why you see all this mess. And we can, it's very simple. I'm telling you, if today our president says the way he used to say about COVID, we see him talking, or any minister, that now from now, this is exactly what we want. This is the way forward. People will follow that. Because one thing I'm surprised with Kenyans, not unless they are told. Not unless they are told. The others even know, but they do it just because today, who doesn't know that you are not supposed to drink and drive? But you still find people drinking and driving, knowing very well that you can even kill another person who is innocent. Because by the time you drink and drive, you cannot control that vehicle. This is not about Kenya. That is everywhere, all over the world. You cannot see somebody drinking and driving. But what about our country? This now has been culture. It's our culture that wherever you put Sharia, people want to break the law. We have to know that this is about our lives. And this is why I'm saying it is all of us, our responsibility.
I'm curious to also find out what you have done as the Road Safety Network Association in the specifics in terms of enhancing road safety in our country. What is it that you feel you can be at say, acknowledged for having done in terms of bringing back sanity on our roads?
First of all, Road Safety Association has done a lot of things. In fact, for NTSA to be formed, we were the people who were pushing for it, because we could see the police, there was reluctant, and we thought, we went to Nigeria, there was such a body, so we were the people who were pushing for that. It was there. It did not work. It is not NTSA which did not work. No, it is the people who are employed there who did not do the right job. Because if they and what I'm telling you, we have enough. We don't want any other law in this country about road safety. We have enough. All what we want is proper implementation of those laws. Because, for instance, and I keep on repeating this because I want to give examples of this, the time we were told to wear masks, if that law was not forced, I'm telling you, nobody would have wear those masks. You remember the time the curfew came, the first time people were beaten in Mombasa, and people realized it's not a joke. The president has given his directives. So all we need is proper directives, because at the end of the day, it is very sad if we will be sitting here every time things happen. And it is possible we can reduce these deaths. If everybody there outside want to make sure that you follow the law.
The law.
Yes.
All right. We will be coming back to continue having this conversation in a bit. But right now, I just want us to follow up on something that has been happening at the Law Society of Kenya. The President, Nelson Havi, has been in trouble over a decision that he took to dismiss the CEO. Let's just listen into what is happening currently with regards to this difference of opinion between the Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Havi and the council. All right, we'll be getting back to that in a bit, but right now let's continue having a conversation that we have been having in studio that touches on road safety. This morning, I'm hosting David Njoroge, the chairman of the Road Safety Network Association. And before we went to that particular link, you were talking about how what has worked for COVID-19 can also work when it comes to, road safety. But even as we speak right now, the COVID-19 safety protocols have sort of like what the concern is being raised on how we have let down our guard, and you can see what happened, like what I just said when we were beginning the program. Immediately after some of the restrictive measures were lifted a bit, people just went on a drinking spree and nobody was caring. It was just a mess all over, and we ended up losing about 60 people, and I believe the numbers are still rising by the day. So are we genuine when we say that we can actually follow the rules and the laws that have been put in place? Do you think we are genuine and faithful to that cause?
Yeah, we must be very genuine to that, because why are we saying this thing is rising? It's just because this the president opened just some areas, not everywhere, but just some areas. Bars were opened, everybody went, the people went crazy. Those people who are used to drink and driving, they started the same thing they were doing. But before that, there were those laws which you are not supposed to go and drink. So what I'm saying is this, Kenyans,
my point then is, do you think the laws is having laws and forcing Kenyans to follow the law can be a long-term solution?
Yeah, and they must be forced to follow the law.
For how long?
It's a matter of a matter of a very short time, and people understand. And when you start forcing, you are forcing them because there's somewhere there's something where our government did not do. But now, if they can start forcing to make sure that we save these people, and then we go back on the drawing board, we say now we must start this civic education, so that by the time people understand, by the time we are stopping to force them...
Allow me to cut you short on that. Sorry for that. We'll be coming back to pick up from that point. Let's go back to the row at the Law Society of Kenya.
Yes. Well, according to your boss, the president of LSK, he claims that by the judgment issued on the 19th, that you cease being the LSK CEO.
I do not know whether you have seen the communication that was sent to the newsroom and members of public by the Council of the Law Society of Kenya, indicating that I should resume to work immediately. It is by virtue of that resolution, that communication that has been given to me personally, that I am seated here and working.
Was this a procedural flaw? Because there's a section of the council that did a written verdict, and then there are those who gave verbal verdicts. Because that is the basis upon which the president says that he used the written verdicts to actually pass a judgment on you.
What I have is a communication of a resolution of the council, from the council, signed by council members.
And that is what you're speaking of?
Yes.
All right, that is Mercy Wambua, the Chief Executive Officer of the Council at the LSK. And of course, what she's talking about is just giving an update on the row that is currently being witnessed at the Law Society of Kenya. President of the Law Society of Kenya, Nelson Harvey, actually went ahead to make a decision to oust Mercy Wambua from office on the 15th of September for what he termed as gross misconduct and incompetence. It's a decision that was disputed by the council, and actually we saw 9 members out of the 13 council members voted against that decision by Nelson Harvey. So it's a story that continues to take different shapes as the days go by. We'll be giving you updates as we continue to follow keenly on what is happening. We have our reporter Yusuf Farah currently following up on this particular wrangle, so keep it KBC Channel 1 for the latest developments. Now in studio, let's continue talking about road safety. And I welcome your views on social media to ask any question, raise any concern that you have at KBC Channel 1 and at Serfine_Achieng. And talking about that, Mr. Njoroge, there's a question about somebody wants you to address the security of bikers and those who ride motorbikes. Just talk about what has been done to also ensure their security.
Let me say that it was an issue, and I remember even our CS Matiang'i, when he was very serious, he even appointed a committee to come up with proper structure of how the rules to be followed. And down, I don't know what exactly happened, because things are not going well today. It's risky. Riding on those border, as you can see now, like now every hospital has set aside a ward for only border victims, which is
usually crowded.
Very, very worrying. And if you go there, that place is crowded. If you go to the only hospital we have for the spine, or the only one we have, it's crowded. And I don't know. There's a problem, and this is why I'm saying it is a problem which needs to be properly addressed from the from the leadership, so that we can see the changes which can be made on our roads. Because seriously, it is a serious issue. Every day we are losing more than 6 border riders. And we normally talk about the people we lose, but we never discuss about the people who are injured, seriously injured, that they will never walk again, they will remain maimed for life. We don't discuss about the figures. So the figures, we have a very big number, and that is where we are saying we need this thing to be properly addressed. The same way I go back to COVID-19, we were told there is a victim, there was this in every county. How many patients we have, how many have died? If this thing can be done, be brought back to safety to the people on our roads, that every Kenyan will understand that roads is not a joke. People are dying because you'll be told today in Mombasa Road, 6 people died. In Thika Road, this is a number. This is a number of the people who have been taken to hospital. This is a number of the people who have survived. And this is a number of the people who have not been able to survive. So that every Kenyan seated where you are, the time you are going to you want to go to the road, you want to drive, you want to ride, you know that it is serious. These roads can kill.
So it goes back to information and
awareness. So that people will know, the time I'm driving my vehicle, I know this road, 2 people died yesterday. So I must be very careful because the same thing can happen to me. So that awareness is what we are lacking. We need that awareness so that our people know exactly what. Like today, let me tell you, it's a serious issue. To tell you, we have about 1 million border borders there out. And 80% of them, even they don't have a license. They don't have the license.
80% of the 1 million
of that 1 million, they don't have licenses. This is something which was discussed by the group, the Matiang'i group, and it was dropped to the county level to make sure that every county make sure that they have the number of the border borders they have, and they make sure that these young business men are properly trained, and they are taught about the road, and they are taught about even the manners, how to. Today, we just walk there, you'll see them riding without even a helmet. And the meaning of the helmet is very important, because immediately you have an accident, the most very vulnerable place is the head. So if you are hit on your head, chances of surviving are very few. Because if you break all the other part of your body, it can heal. But when you have an injury in your head, that is something else. Right. But still, just go there out. You will see people riding these motorbikes without those helmets. You will find a boda carrying 5-6 people. It's dangerous.
Yeah, true. Yeah. 80% of the 1 million border riders do not have a license. That's something that is serious, and we cannot continue the way we have been doing in this particular country. It's a serious conversation that we are having in studio. We continue to invite your views. When we come back, because we are going on a very short break, we will be talking about why the border sector is so porous. Why is it so easy to get into this particular sector and just have your way without following the rules? And what needs to be done? Who should do what? So that we have some sort of control and sanity in this particular sector. So stay with us. We are taking a very short break. We will be right back.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
You manipulated me. You tricked me into this wedding.
I was only trying to do what I thought was right.
You told lies about my family.
Everyone, excuse me. I'm sorry, but the wedding has been cancelled.
I'm so glad you're back. Me too.
What are you doing here? Mtoto wangu hapo. Nilisikia amemtafuta. Najua anataka kuniona. Hivi.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It's the worst case scenario now. That I have little time left to live, that I go off slowly one day at a time.
Fabiola is not pregnant?
No.
Does Ramon know about this?
Yes, I told him a while ago. What they tell us is different from what happens in here. So just get used to the possibility you'll be staying here for a while.
What would I do without you?
I'll never leave your side.
You need to get me out of here, or I'll ask them to bring my son here.
Roxana, you know we're working on getting you out.
Why do we need to keep her asleep?
The doctor wants to give her a wider margin for recovery.
Follow her car.
Hey, what are you doing here?
In love with Ramon.
Oh, my baby, replay. Playing my favorite tune. Oh, your chance are ready, your love. Oh, already your love. My chérie, atana pasina sana yo, baby, my honey.
Tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby, now we are two in one. We are two in one. Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima, aoye izungushie hapo ma kama una
Ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Teacher, you are not understanding.
Some of you are about to have the worst day of your pathetic lives.
And who gave you the right to speak to people like that?
You guys, leave me alone. I don't know you anymore.
Can we talk privately?
Leave me alone.
You guys focus, eh?
I have a billion you can be a lily vanning guy.
We are trying to focus here.
No singing in this classroom.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is News Check, a program that seeks to inform you on the latest happenings in the country, and of course have studio conversations on some of these issues just to give them more depth and have questions answered that may have been raised. Now, today we are talking about road safety, and we still call on you to share with us your thoughts and your views on social media at KBC Channel 1 and at Serfine_Achieng. But right now, we want to take you to Mombasa County to follow up on the latest developments in the region. We have our very own Junaid Karisa this morning following up on the ongoing process of schools reopening. Examinations are coming up, and she's going to be giving us details on how that is taking shape. Junaid, if you can hear me, a very good morning. Kindly tell us what is happening in Mombasa County this morning. All right, I understand we're having a bit of trouble connecting to Junaid Karisa, but we'll be going back to Mombasa County shortly to talk about the status of issues, especially on the education sector in the coastal region this morning. But we come back to studio now and talk about road safety. And we were just having a conversation about how bad the situation is on our roads, and with a special focus on the boda menace. One of the issues that came forth is something that is not new to you and I. If you go to any hospital right now, and you'll find out that there is a ward that has been dedicated to those who are victims of boda related accidents. And what is unique about that particular ward is the population of patients who come there to seek treatment. And this paints a bigger picture on how bad the situation is on our roads when it comes to this means of transport. And that is the conversation that we are having with Mr. Njoroge this morning. And Mr. Njoroge, I just wanted to find out from you what you think makes the boda sector so porous that anybody can have their way anyhow and do what they want any minute. That today I can buy a motorcycle and tomorrow I'm on business, I'm on the roads and I'm carrying people. What is it that makes it so easy to get away with trouble in this sector?
Let me say, as I had said from the word go, the structure of the way it is being structured, the way today you want to be a rider, what are you supposed to do so that you become a rider? This is, for instance, today if you just buy a motorbike, and where are the schools to train about motorbike? We don't have these schools, and whatever happens, you are just taken on a playing ground. When you are able to go round twice, then you are good to go. So when such things happen, this person does not know even to give way. He does not know anything to do with the laws of the road traffic rules. They don't know anything. This is why you'll see when you're driving a motorbike, will just come on the left side and go. So if you make a mistake and turn your vehicle, that person is dead. So what we are saying is this: already we know the mess is there, and we are losing a number of people. We must take proper measures now to make sure that we save those who are alive, because this thing will continue, and we will continue discussing about this issue. And as we speak, people continue dying. So this is now the responsibility of our government, because in the Constitution, it is very clear. They are supposed to protect you and your property. All right. Yeah.
Mr. Njoroge, we're coming back to continue having this conversation. Right now, we get back to Junaid Karisa for the latest development in Mombasa County.
Good morning, Serfine. Achieng. We're coming to you live from the Star of the Sea Primary School, where the assessment of grade 4 and class 8 pupils has commenced this morning. What we understand is the exercise will take a maximum of 3 days. This exercise is expected to find gaps, of course, in learners, to see if where exactly they are after the 7 months closure of the school due to the ongoing pandemic. So for today, what I understand is they are starting with the English paper, and this is grade 4 right behind me. If my cameraman can just show you, they're starting with the reading, and then they'll go to the written English exams, after which they will continue with composition. So this is grade 4 and class 8 pupils. That is their timetable for today's, and this assessment will take a maximum of 3 days before it is concluded. What we understand is COVID-19 protocols are being observed here according to the regulations put in place by the Ministry of Health. You have to sanitize before, because they're sharing one piece of paper. They have to sanitize, and they have to make sure that they are observing the 1 meter rule distance between them and the teachers, so that they can be able to stay safe whilst the examination is continuing. So we know that this assessment has begun not here only at the Star of the Sea Primary School, but across other schools here in Mombasa County and also countrywide. What we understand is just adjacent to this particular building, of course, is the Star of the Sea High School that was closed down on Monday temporarily due to ongoing fumigation exercise. What we understand is unconfirmed reports, of course, that says that some of the pupils and teachers might have tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. This is unconfirmed reports. Efforts, of course, to get the relevant authority to comment on this matter. Of course, they have told us they will get back on us, but we have not yet received any official communication. So what we have is information from our reliable sources who are telling us that indeed the principal was not had already fallen ill before the schools reopened. So the school was being run by the deputy principal, of course, and so we understand that some tests were taken for the teachers and, of course, the deputy principal. But according to sources from the health, from the public health here in Mombasa County, those tests are yet to come come back. So right now they cannot, we cannot ascertain for sure if at all they are isolating or quarantining. But what we understand is the school has been closed down for 2 weeks to pave way for that exercise to continue. So as they await the results, of course, for the teachers and as well as the students, because we understand that even yesterday some students were recalled, so the Form 4 students were recalled so that they can undergo the testing, the mandatory testing. And of course, it's not only the students, we understand also the officials and the workers at the particular place. We visited the school. There is no watchman because all the watchmen, the security people who were on duty during this period, that since the schools were open, all of them had to go through that test and have been told to self-quarantine before the results have come back, so that they can know the status, of course, of the COVID-19 virus, if at all some of them have contracted the virus. So for right now, what we know is just unconfirmed reports that some of them might have contracted the virus, but we cannot ascertain this for sure. We are waiting for an official statement, of course, from the county government and of course from the Ministry of Education to tell us how many have been affected and how many will have to stay isolated and how many will have to quarantine after contracting this particular virus. We understand it is not the only school that has been temporarily shut down. We understand Tononoka also might have closed down due to, of course, this particular confirmed cases of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're waiting for the county commissioner Gilbert Kitio to give us an official statement. He is the chairman of the emergency COVID-19 committee that has been set up here in Mombasa County to ascertain to us what exactly is going on when it comes to school. Are they the only schools that have been affected? How many students have been affected? How many teachers have been affected, and when exactly are they? What measures will they take so that they can continue with the contact tracing? And after which, what other measures can they deploy across all public primary and secondary schools to ensure that this virus, this ripple effect, is not felt in these other institutions? So we are waiting for that confirmation and that statement from the relevant authority. But as for now, we know for sure that the school has closed down due to some positive cases that have been reported. We understand some results are back, some results are not yet back, but of course we will know that as the day develops. But for now, of course, what we understand, we will continue keeping a close eye to ascertain for sure whether or not the school was closed down and how many people were affected in this particular war against the corona virus. So of course this is the development here in Mombasa County. The education sector is being affected, and of course we are waiting to see what, of course, they are appealing is the state of panic, not people not to panic and spread false rumors concerning this particular situation to avoid stigmatization of the students as well as the teachers and as well as their families. And so everybody is being urged to remain calm as we wait for the official statements both from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health. But for now, we continue keeping a close eye, of course, for the assessment that is currently ongoing, not here at the Star of the Sea Primary School alone, but of course other centers here in Mombasa County and of course countrywide. So Serfine, I hand it back to you as we continue to monitor this developing story, and of course as we check on other schools to see if the assessment is going on without any hitches. For now, Serfine, I hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Junei Karisa, for that comprehensive update. Coming to us live from the Star of the Sea High School in Mombasa County. A school that is on the spotlight this particular morning after unconfirmed reports are that some teachers and students may have contracted COVID-19. Junei is informing us this morning that some of the teachers and students had undergone the COVID-19 test, and some results are out, others are yet to be received, but they are waiting to get clear information from the authorities with regards to these reports that we have received. But what we know as we speak this morning is that the school has been temporarily closed. It was closed on the Monday 19th, 2020 for what the school administration terms as a fumigation exercise. The school is yet supposed to be opened on the 2nd of November 2020. So it's an exercise that is going to take between 19th to the 2nd. That's about 2 weeks. So the information that we have, which remains unconfirmed, is that there could be some positive cases of COVID-19 reported from that school. We will be staying closer to the coastal region just to find out more about this particular information as soon as Junaid speaks to the relevant authorities to confirm this for us. Now, coming to studio, and before we continue, Mr. Njoroge, just a quick one on the information we are just receiving from the coastal region. This is really unfortunate and some scary news receiving right now when schools just reopened the other day. What's your take on the move to partially, a phased reopening of learning institutions, slowly crawling back to normal and allowing us move on with life? Was it a step in the right direction to allow learners go back to school?
I think my take is that we rushed. We should not have tested with our kids. Kids should have remained at home, and we open all the other places. Why in a hurry? Because this is a second wave which is coming of this COVID-19, and it will be a very serious issue if kids are contracted, because you see the way kids play. It will be a very serious thing in this country. So I think the best thing is we should not open schools. Yeah.
All right.
We should wait.
All right.
Yeah.
The good thing is that the Ministry of Health says it was not cast on stone, so we're still observing the trends, and as the days go by, probably we may see something different, but that's a matter of wait and see. But moving on with the conversation we were having about road safety, and we just want to understand some of the issues that are ailing this sector, the border sector. I want us to talk about the beast, the elephant in the room. This is the corruption menace. Yes. You were very passionate earlier talking about the need for us to have laws, and not just laws, but a proper mechanism and the right people to ensure that these laws are enforced. But when we have corruption on this other side, and then we have the laws on this other side, how do we balance that equation?
Let me say that equation can never be balanced. And for sure, corruption is in every sector. Corruption is in every sector. And corruption has contributed much on the deaths we see on our roads. Because even this area, we talk of the border, we talk of this, we know how police are cashing in. It has become road laws became cash cow for people to mint money. And the day we will agree as Kenyans that we must stop this corruption, because you remember Michuki Day, that time when Michuki was there, we could see people arresting police, taking them to the police station because of collecting the bribes. That is a nation we need, so that we save these people who are dying. But if this corruption continues, even if you put those laws there and we have enough, they will never work. Because if you go with your money and then you go through, the same happening in these driving schools, whereby money is spent and somebody gets a license. It's there. It's everybody knows that corruption is rampant on our roads, and this is one area. The time it will be properly addressed, you will see even our numbers decreasing. Yeah.
This is something that people see, and I'm sure in one or two occasions somebody has witnessed actually the corruption taking place on the roads. What has been done to empower the public to speak out when they see such? Because you're saying the only way we can fight it, the only way we can eradicate it is to stand firm and to call out all those who are engaging in corruption. But what has been done to empower them to feel like it's actually in their place to take that responsibility, those who use the roads?
It goes back to the civic education. It goes back there that we need people to be properly educated, to know their rights. Because today you can have a very good police officer on the road who will not collect any bribe, but take that person to court. They bribe even in our courts. And this is something which is there, that corruption has eaten the society from that road even to the courtroom. So if the police does not pick that money there, the money will be picked on the other side. So the time, and that is what I'm saying, people should be properly educated about the traffic rules, about what you're supposed to do. Because if you see somebody bribing, automatically he knows it's not doing the right job. If your vehicle is not in proper condition, that is the time you will bribe. If your tire is worn out, that is the time you will bribe. There is no way you will bribe when you're doing the right thing. So, and that wrong thing you're doing, and I give you an example. We lost 7 people from Murang'a. That vehicle left Murang'a, went to Makueni. A vehicle which is supposed to carry 7 people was carrying 14 people. It left all the way, it went to Makueni, left Makueni, and the accident happened when they were going back home. 7 people died. Ask yourself, all the way, how many load blocks are there? What happened? That is the question. How can a vehicle which is supposed to carry only 7 people carry 14? And it is on our roads.
And it goes scot-free.
It goes scot-free.
Going and coming.
We started the discussion with the 7 people died. That is the time you are saying, this vehicle should not have carried 14 people. So this is a discussion, and it's not a joke. We are losing people on our roads. And this is why I am even trying to appeal to our political leaders, religious leaders, to come in. This is not something, because we've been discussing this thing, but we have not seen these people coming in. And we are losing a big number of people. We need the political leaders now to discuss about this. We need the religious leaders to be in this, because they are losing their people. So what I'm trying to say is that corruption is in every sector. Go to any sector, you'll find that corruption. Just the other day, we visited some inspection centers whereby you see a vehicle has been passed and it is not even worthy to be on the road. But because money is used, that vehicle is on the road. It's on our roads. That vehicle will kill. We'll discuss about it when it has already killed. So that's why I'm saying now we must take another direction. Because we've been discussing about this, we've been discussing about corruption, and our people are still dying. And this time I'm trying to appeal to our political leaders. I'm trying to appeal to the religious leaders. This is something which should even be taught, even in the church, that you should not bribe a police officer. What are the leaders, the church leaders, doing about this? What are they doing? They are doing nothing. They have just kept quiet. They discussed when we lost only three priests in Nyeri Road. That is the time we could even see NTSA scrapped because those priests died. From there, everything stopped. So we need everybody to participate in this so that we can see the way forward, how we can save our people. We cannot be discussing every year that we are losing 3,000 every year. In fact, this year...
Even one life is too much.
It's too much.
One life is
too much. This year, we might even surpass that number. Because we are talking of 3,000 and we have not reached the month of December where we normally lose over 600 that month. So if something is not done now, seriously, things are not that good. Yes.
They've always argued that in our country we tend to be more reactive as opposed to being proactive when it comes to addressing such issues.
Yes.
Right now we are having a conversation about road safety, something that many would feel is usually very common around the festive season, around the time when we're experiencing a lot of accidents. What do you think can be done differently so that we are proactive in addressing this issue?
that is why I told you, this thing now needs to be addressed further, not the way we have been addressing it. And this is why I'm trying to call the political leaders. I want to call our leaders on this now, so that we can see the way forward. Because we don't have accidents in this country. There are crashes. There are accidents which could have been stopped before they happened. But we discuss about this when already we have lost our people. So this is why I'm trying to urge every Kenyan, everybody, to participate in this and to make sure, because all what we need, there's nothing which is needed, is just to follow the traffic rules the right way and nothing else. Because accident happens in seconds. You will do a very silly mistake and there it is. 10 people are dead. So let's sit, because now we must have a sitting. The same way there was a proper sitting, even at the State House, because of COVID. The experts were called. We need our president to call the experts, call the religious leaders, call all these people. What are we supposed to do?
On our roads.
On our roads. And I'm telling you, whatever will come out from there, we will see changes outside here. And we will save a big number of our people.
How do we deal then with the issue? Because I feel like we always relax after some time. What do we need to do so that we don't, relax and go back to?
I give you an example.
To the drawing board.
I give you an example that when these numbers came the two weeks ago,
because even when COVID came, everyone was scared. But then, as the days went by, we were
everybody now relaxes.
Yeah.
The same way you saw when the numbers came, when NTSA announced the number, when it gave a figure of 2,680 something people have died on our roads. Every low road, there was a roadblock for 2 days only. From there, all the roadblocks are removed.
So is it just for show?
Again, we wait for the numbers to raise. Again, they go back to the road.
Is it just
for 1 week?
Show, then?
So it is just to show that there's something they are doing. But now we need to discuss this issue on a very serious issue, whereby it is not a must you go and fix roadblocks, you would go start crackdowns. No, we need to know where have we gone wrong so that we correct. Because if we keep quiet, as we are keeping quiet, next come December, we will talk about 4,000 people have died. And let me tell you, you don't know who is this person who will be counted in that 4,000. It might be you.
Yeah, true.
That is what is there.
Could be anyone,
it is not a must.
We use the roads daily.
Yeah, it's not a must. We'll be discussing about 2,000, 3,000 people have died. Next time it will be you who will be counted there. So something must be done drastically, without jokes, and make sure that we follow the rules. Because we don't need any. We don't need our parliament to go. They have done their work. They have come up with proper laws which are there.
Right.
But the implementation.
All right. We are coming back to continue this conversation, but something that has been developing in our country as well is the ongoing push for the changes in the Constitution. The BBI initiative yesterday, President Uhuru Kenyatta, opposition leader Raila Odinga, and the Deputy President William Ruto made this part of their remarks as they were marking the Mashujaa Day celebrations. There has been talks that the task force has already handed over the report to President Uhuru Kenyatta. So today happening is the unveiling of the BBI report that was handed to President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let's just follow up on some of the proceedings that are happening. This is coming to us courtesy of NTV.
The President will be required under this proposal annually while giving the State of the Nation address to state in detail what his government has done to implement Article 43. The County Road Development Fund I also talked about here will also be required to be implemented so that it addresses Article 43 rights. All government departments under this proposal will be required under Article 220 of the Constitution to demonstrate before their budget is approved what steps they took in the past year to implement Article 43 rights, what they will take, what steps they will do under that budget, and what steps they will do in the future to ensure Article 43 rights are implemented at the bottom. There are recommendations around inclusivity in the executive. there are recommendations about inclusivity and about dealing and doing away with divisive elections in the national, in Parliament. And you will be able to read those once we are done here. The recommendations around corruption. One of the recommendations is to give some constitutional underpinning for court cases involving corruption to be resolved, started and resolved within a period of 1 year or 2 years. So expedited hearing and conclusion of corruption cases. We have recommendations around the question of how Parliament will process its statutes a lot faster, and how the two houses, the Senate and the National Assembly, will work between themselves. On the judiciary, there is a re-emphasis on strengthening the independence of the judiciary, but also looking at the accountability of the judiciary to the people of Kenya. And there's a proposal to include the Office of the Independent Judiciary Ombudsman to handle and process complaints from the public regarding aspects of the judiciary. There are recommendations for gender parity in the seat of county governor and deputy county governor, again for women. There are recommendations about the quick processing or the accountability of government accounting officers. And there is a recommendation for a checklist to be provided for them so that funds are used only for the purposes they are meant. And one of those is that the controller of budget must, as part of the job, audit the effectiveness of the implementation of projects being undertaken. On the question of security, there is a harmonization of the roles of the police, and there is also an elevation of the Independent Police Oversight Authority into a constitutional commission where Kenyans can go and respond and complain about things that they're unhappy about with that. Aside from that, there is a recommendation for the implementation of the Mental Health Task Force report, which was one of the recommendations of the BBI task force. There is a recommendation for the setting up of a Terror Victims Protection Trust Fund. There is a recommendation to that effect. There is a recommendation for the enhanced protection of women during electoral periods to aid the election and to aid their participation in electoral processes. There is a strengthening of the office of the DPP. The DPP now becomes, under this proposal, an independent office under the Constitution. There is a strengthening of the Director of the Criminal Investigation, and there is a recommendation around the strengthening of the Office of the Auditor General to be able to hire officers from all over the country. Those are but a few. It is recommended to you as Kenyans, please engage with the documents in full, beginning with policy, coming to the Constitution, legislative, and administrative policies. None is to be read in isolation. All are to be read together. Secondly, it is not a destination. It is something we have to continue engaging with as Kenyans. Thank you very much.
Asante sana mwenyekiti na vile vile wakili. Mheshimiwa Rais, nitaomba sasa tuingie katika awamu ya kupokea ripoti, na nitamwalika mwenyekiti Profesa, kisha nimuombe Mheshimiwa Rais kujongea mbele tu mahala ambapo ameketi ili aweze kupokea ripoti hii. Professor, kindly proceed to the President. Professor, move on kindly. Ripoti ndio hiyo, anaikabidhiwa Mheshimiwa Rais. Tumpongeze anapoipokea. Asante. Asante. Nitaomba vile vile Mheshimiwa aliyekuwa Waziri Mkuu Raila Odinga apokee hiyo ripoti. Makofi. Asante. Asante. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hiyo ndio ripoti ambayo itatupa mwongozo na mwelekeo kama taifa. Asante sana. Nitaomba nafasi hii kumwalika aliyekuwa Waziri Mkuu Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga kufanya his brief remarks. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, members of the task force led here by Professor Adam Solo, all the other distinguished guests here, ladies and gentlemen, hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Leo ni leo. This is the day that many people have been waiting for. And yesterday, you remember, Your Excellency, I hesitated from saying that we are going to receive the report today. But today, finally, nyoka imetoka. We now have a report, and people can now talk about a report. There have been people who have been speculating about a report without reading it. Some even have expressed opposition to it before they've seen it. But finally it is here. We said that after long deliberation between us, the two of us, which took hours, we identified what we saw as the problems which are actually ailing our country. And we decided that we should take steps to resolve these problems, not just for ourselves, but in the interest of this generation and the future generations of our country. Because just ourselves, we have a new constitution. At that time, it was 8 years. And he said, but still there are problems. So there must be other issues which are making us not enjoy what the founding fathers of our nation wanted. A country where justice is shield and defender, and we dwell in unity, peace and liberty. And finally, plenty is found within our borders. So far, we don't have the plenty. 56 years since we got independence. And that's why Kenyans are angry, because they are hungry. An angry person is a hungry person is an angry person. And we identified the issues and we put them in the memorandum of understanding. There are 9 points, which we charge these eminent Kenyans the responsibility of trying to find solutions. So after moving around and talking to Kenyans, they came up with a report. And then thereafter we decided to reappoint them rather than bringing a new team, new faces, to validate this report among the people of Kenya. They has already, Tom has explained, held town hall meetings. But we decided ourselves that we will go around and talk to Kenyans generally. And we came up with the concept of regional consultations. And the first regional consultation took place here in Kisii. In fact, just across the wall, down there is where it was. That's why we had the lengthy deliberations. We had the experts explaining, and here in Kisii, we brought in people from all the 6 counties of former Nyanza province. So here you had the Luos, the Kisiis, and the Kurias came here, their representatives. Kisii County had, I think, 500 delegates. The rest had 300 mixed. Some were elders, some were women, some were youth, some were politicians, religious leaders, businessmen, all assembled here. And after lengthy deliberation, after the report was presented by the experts and people deliberated, we then retreated to the stadium where we were yesterday to launch the BBI. And that's where the reggae started. And that's why yesterday I said we decided to come here yesterday. And I said today we decided deliberately with the president to come and receive the report here in Kisii. Because this is where it started. And reggae ilipotoka hapa kanguruma huko magharibi. As he said here, the Kisii spoke a lot about issues affecting the Kisii region, issues which are specific to this region. Like you've seen the soapstone products outside there. He talked about them. He talked about minerals generally in this area. They talked about agriculture. They talked about industries in this region. Down around the lake there, they talked about fishing industry. They talked about sugar industry, that area. They talked about groundnuts growing, about cotton and industrialization generally in that area, and also issues of infrastructure. The couriers came with the issues because couriers are in Migori County, and they are saying that they don't think they're getting their fair share. Some people are making noise. I said, no, that's why we're doing these consultations. Let everybody speak. So then we can be able to find a solution. As we moved on, it turned out it was not just only couriers having this problem. If you went to Western, the Sabaots of Mount Kenya were talking about how they're also not being fairly treated there. They're not getting their rights. The Tesos in Busia had similar issues. So we then say that we must find a way in this new constitution in which we find a way of how we can isolate problems affecting minorities and finding how to address them. Tulipotoka Ingo tumekaenda huko Mombasa, kule watu wa pwani wakafoka wakakohoa mambo ya madini. They talked about the blue economy in the coast. They talked about historical land marginalization, including Mazrui land rights and all those sort of things. So very serious issues were raised. Then from there to kind of Kambani. The campus also talked about issues of drought, issues of famine, issues of national calamities, and also infrastructure. Tukaenda huko Narok. Narok pale Wamasai waliongea. They talked about issues of land there, how the land had been invaded. There's certain specific land that they talked about, and they wanted a solution to the issue of land. They talked about pastoralism as a way of life, and how you can do value addition, things like putting up a meat processing plant in Narok. Then they talked about the game park, which you have Masai Mara, and then you have also Amboseli, and that they wanted these to be under the counties. We then went to Garissa, and in Garissa, Wariahi, Walikohoa, from Mandera, Wajir, all the way up to Garissa, but even to the people from Marsabit joined at Isiolo. And there they talked about issues of pastoralism, there, issues of infrastructure, issues of education, issues of security generally, the threat to Al-Shabaab and so on. And all this we agreed could need to be addressed. From there tukaenda huko mlimani, Mount Kenya, kule Meru. Watu wa milima kutoka huko Nakuru mpaka Tharaka Nithi waliongea shida zao, the issues of land, issues of industrialization, issues of infrastructure, and issues of equity. The issue of one man, one shilling was very loud there. That is so that each and every Kenyan gets their rights here. So through this process, we managed to really get what is ailing Kenya, what are the problems. So it was not a useless exercise. Some people can stand and say, oh, waste of time. We need to address the issues of poverty, watu wa chini, watu wadogo. And so what? How do you address them if you don't know them? So he said, we want the Kenyan to speak, and the Kenyan spoke. Somebody will come and say, today is when we have now discovered that kuna watu wadogo. We want to have a conversation about the people, the poor man, the common man, the mkokoteni, the driver, mtu wa wheelbarrow, and so on. But you have been there all this time. You do come from heaven. You didn't drop from heaven like an angel. You've been around. Is it the first time you've now discovered that there are watu wa mkokoteni? And the issue of haves and have-nots. If you're really concerned, why do you give them wheelbarrows? Why don't you give them your helicopter? We are going to talk to the people of Kenya. The Kenyans must know the truth. That this, sisi si watu wazimu. Mimi na ndugu yangu tuliamua tutaenda njia hii kwa sababu tunajua hii ndio njia ya kukomboa Kenya. There's no other way. This is how we're going to do it. And as Thomas said, the conversation is now beginning. And I'm sure shortly we're going to be able to get a consensus. The issue of gender inclusivity, for example, in Parliament. And we say that we take Parliament as an institution, National Assembly and the Senate. And then once we put that together, then we deal with the issue of gender parity there. And we are determined to achieve that now, before the next elections. So we are open to everything else. So Kenya, the new Kenya need to be born. And this is what we want. We said we want to bequeath a better society to the future generation. It is not about making Raila Odinga president or making Uhuru Kenyatta a prime minister. That is so far from it. That is propaganda. The facts are those that we have said. So we want to thank these eminent Kenyans for agreeing and taking up the challenge and burning the midnight oil to come up with this document. I want it to be understood that these are recommendations which they've come with as an after engagement with the people of Kenya. They are not cast in stone. They've given it to us. We will look at them, and we'll also give it to our people to look at. And then hereafter, we will come up now with the final document, which we are going to take. The roadmap is we are going to collect signatures. We want signatures to be collected. And then we will take it to the Electoral Commission. And from there, it will go to the county assemblies. And we hope that we can get 24 county assemblies to approve within 1 week. And thereafter we go to Bunge. From there tutaenda kwa wananchi wa Kenya. Sasa wewe sema yako, sisi tutasema yetu. Wakenya wataamua. na wakiamua wewe, sisi tutakubali matokeo ya Wakenya vile Wakenya watakuwa wataamua. Hiyo ndio demokrasia vile inafanya kazi. Asanteni sana my brother, Your Excellency, karibu.
Asanteni sana. Nashukuru note. Asante. Asante. Wakenya wenzangu, hamjambo? Hamjambo tena. Asante sana. Nataka asubuhi ya leo niwakaribishe kirasmi kama wageni wangu wa kwanza katika ikulu ndogo ya Kisii. Nyinyi ndio wageni wetu wa kwanza. Karibuni sana. Ya pili, kupitia makamu mwenyekiti wa kamati ya wazee ndugu Olo, kupitisha shukrani zetu za dhati kwako wewe na kupitia kwako kwa wazee wenzako ambao wamefanya kazi kutoka wakati tuliwapatia mwaka uliopita mpaka sasa na kuweka imani yetu na ya wananchi wa Kenya. Asanteni sana. Tunashukuru sana. Ya pili, tena kupitia kwako naibu wa mwenyekiti, mpeleke pole zetu kwa mwenyekiti wenu mzee wetu Haji, na muambie tunamuombea apone haraka na ndio tuweze kuendelea na kazi yetu. Ya pili ni kushukuru technical team ambayo imefanya kazi na hawa wazee. Kusema again, thank you for your patriotism, for your dedication, and for your love of country. Asanteni sana. Thank you. And also for being faithful to the cause. Siku ya leo tukiwa hapa, tuko hapa kupokea kirasmi report ya hawa wazee, na ni vizuri kwa sababu saa ingine sisi wa Kenya twasahau haraka, kwa sababu sio muda mrefu sana mwaka uliopita ambapo wazee walituletea ile preliminary report yao ya mambo yale ambaye wakati walizunguka taifa letu la Kenya waliona ikiwa shida ambayo inakumba wananchi wetu kutoka kila kona ya Kenya. Na wakati walituletea hiyo report, tukaipokea na tukakuja pale Bomas of Kenya, si ni kweli? Na tukaita wananchi kutoka kila kona ya Kenya na tukawapatia nafasi. Wakati hiyo tukaitoa kirasmi na tukasema hii ndio report tumeletewa na wazee, na tukaelezwa kidogo yale ambayo yalikuweko, na tukasema Wakenya waisome. Na baada ya muda mchache tukasema sasa hii report ya kwanza tunataka iwe consolidated into a document that has a legal basis. Na tukasema badala ya kwenda kutafuta wataalamu wengine, wazee wengine, wale ambao walifanya ile kazi ya mwanzo, wacha waendelee na kazi, kwa sababu wanajua mwanzo na pahali wamefika, na ndio watakuwa wakijua njia ya kuendelea, in order to give us an instrument that can be turned into questions that Kenyans can answer ultimately at a referendum. Hiyo report sasa ndio tumeipokea, na tukawaambia they should not constrain themselves only to constitutional issues. They should also look at legislative issues. They should also look at policy issues. They should also look at administrative issues. And I want to thank you, because I think you have done it in that holistic manner. Ile imebaki sasa ni Wakenya tuisome. Na tuisome sio tukiwa tumeweka kofia ya kisiasa. Tuisome kama wananchi wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Let us read it as individual citizens, because it is about your life. It is about the life of your children. It is about the life of even your children's children. Let us not politicize life, because as I said yesterday, politics will come and go. But this life that we live and this society that we call Kenya is here to stay. And we have a particular moment in history where we can come together and look at those things that prevent us from going forward and rectify them together. This is one such moment in history. Let us not lose this opportunity. As I said some time ago, this is not a document against any individual, against any community. This is a document that is for 50 million Kenyans. This is a document where I am encouraging each one of us to read and make your contribution with a view, not about creating contestation, but with a view of making it even better. All right? That is what we are looking for. We're not looking for the things that we disagree about. We're saying these ones that we are in agreement with, let us bring that consensus and move forward. And I want to plead, especially with my political colleagues, this is not the time to create division. This is the time for each and every one of us to show leadership. This is the time to bring our country together. My friends, I myself and my brother here are receiving the report for the first time. And that is why some of us have decided to keep quiet about it. Because together with you, we entrusted these people to do the work. Right? Now they have done their part. Today, we receive that report, but we will get a chance on Monday at the Bomas of Kenya to be taken through line by line by these good gentlemen together with their technicians, so that we can absorb it. And in the interim, I am requesting them to see that between now and next Monday, how they can circulate this document to as many people as possible, And even, I don't know whether you have an abridged version, but if you have an abridged version, make sure you put it in all our dailies so that Mwananchi, even by the time you are able to get them with a full copy, they can see the abridged version in their dailies. Yeah? Mtu akinunua gazeti kwa insert hapo or something, just make sure you get it to as many people as possible. As many people as possible. Because we want this to be a national dialogue. And a national dialogue requires respect for each other and for each other's views. And a national dialogue is not conducted through insults. It's not conducted through incitement. It's conducted through reading, learning, understanding, and as the law said wonderfully, not talking at each other, but talking with each other. With a view that I may have an opinion I want to give, you may have an opinion, let us talk with each other, and by so doing we will find a way forward. I want to repeat again, and I said it yesterday. This document does not belong first and foremost to me and Raila. It doesn't. It belongs to you. It belongs to you. This document is not about this individual's presidency and that individual's prime ministership, that individual's this. No. This is about all of us. What we are looking for is a document for posterity. And like I told you yesterday, friends, I may be the fourth, but I'm not the last. There will be a fifth president, there will be a sixth president, there will be a seventh president, there will be 100th president. So, I'm not tabu, but there will always only be one Kenya. And that Kenya belongs to all of us, and we have a common responsibility to protect that Kenya. Yeah? A common responsibility. And what this document seeks to do is to bring us together and find out how we can protect that common territory called Kenya. Not for an individual, not for a community, not for the rich against the poor, or the poor against the rich, but how can we as a society called Kenya build a society that is inclusive, that is equitable, that creates opportunities for all, that is safe for all and secure, that creates great economic opportunities from the natural resources and from the intelligence and capacity of our youth, and that looks after all interests and ensure that nobody is left behind. Because if we can deal with that problem, we will deal with the problem of political conflict and bloodshed. Yeah? Because every Kenyan will know, when I vote, I don't vote now on the basis of my tribe. I vote on the basis of the ideas and ideals, the principles, the policies, the direction a political party or an individual for that matter wishes to take me. Not because of where he's come from or where he's come from. Ni wakati yangu, ni wakati yake, ni wakati ya yule. No. Wakenya watakuwa na huo uhuru, wakijua ya kwamba hata awe amechaguliwa nani, hakuna mtu ambaye atakuwa na uwezo wa kukunyang'anya haki yako, wa kukunyang'anya pesa yako, wa kukunyang'anya shamba yako, ya kukunyang'anya haki yako ya kupata kazi. Wewe utakuwa umepiga kura tu, mtu yako akishinda, haleluya. Akishindwa unasema basi wacha niendelee miaka 5, mimi na biashara zangu, kazi yangu huko nini, hakuna mtu atatuzuia au kuja kuniharas. Nitagojea miaka ingine 5 nijaribu tena. And that is why we are saying this winner take all mentality, that everything in Kenya is about one seat, and if I don't get it, I will not get my right. No. We want every Kenyan, every single day of the year, every single day, 365 days in a year, you are comfortable and content that you have, through your constitution, a document that protects you and that gives you your fair chance in society. And I believe that is what we are seeking from this PBI. Kwa hivyo, mimi sitaki kusema, hata sitaki kuongea juu ya contents, kwa sababu itasemekana me I'm trying to influence you to do say this or that. Me, I'm not interested. But I do know there are a lot of very good proposals that these good men and women have given us. And I do hope and pray that we shall internalize this and that we shall turn it into an inclusive national dialogue with a view of making this country. I am a believer that this country is good. Yes, we have challenges, but I believe that we have a good and great nation, and we have done a lot of great things. But I also believe and know that we can even be better. And that is what we are seeking from this document. How can we even be better than where we are today? And protect not just ourselves who are alive and walking today, but how will we protect and preserve this country even for future generations? That is the challenge of the moment, and that is the constitutional moment I was talking about yesterday. My brothers and sisters, my fellow countrymen, let us not squander this particular moment over petty political differences. I believe we can rise higher. We can rise higher. We can, as I said before, tame ambition for the greater good, right? We can. As I was telling some people, we have seen countries where people fight for political leadership and all you have at the end of the day is broken economies, broken societies, and people who are living in constant fear. I don't think that's where we want this country to go. If you are seeking a position of leadership, I believe that you would want to seek that position of leadership in an economically strong, in a people-empowered nation, where you have young people with hope to drive your agenda forward, and where every single one of your citizens is living in peace and security, regardless of wherever they are. That is what I would wish that anybody who would want a position of leadership would pray for, right? Here we are with an opportunity to create that. Let us work together. Let us respect one another. Let us share our thoughts in good ways. And I'm certain that the success that we shall have shall not belong to any individual, but shall belong to the glory of God and to his people of Kenya. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, sio siku ya kuongea. Tutaonana kule Bomas. Kwa sasa nitoe nafasi hii tu kushukuru wenzetu wa Kisii kwa kutukaribisha, na tumefurahia ule muda tumekuwa pamoja nanyi. Sasa nataka tuingie hapa town, kwa sababu unajua wa Kisii ni watu ambao wanakimbia, wao ni watu ya biashara, so hawalali, pesa inazunguka huko, hawalali wakitafuta, na ndio mmebarikiwa, hakuna pahali ambapo mko kila pahali, uende Amerika, uende UAE, uende Qatar, uende UK, uende Kenya mzima, uende wapi, kwa hivyo hawa wako huko pia, wako na hii maneno, hata akienda Amerika hajasahau bado anakumbuka nyumbani, anatumia ndugu kitu, anatuma nijengee kanyumba hapo, nilisikia kuna plot inauzwa hapo, nasikia kuna kwa hivyo ile pesa ingianga hapa ni mingi, na ndipo tumeonelea ni vizuri tufanye Central Bank wanataka kufungua hapa cash center, na ndio tuweze kuizi hiyo shida ya watu kuwa wanaenda Kisumu ama Nairobi kutafuta wacha iwe hapa, mtu anatembea anafanya kazi yake, alafu tuende tukasalimie, sitaki kusema hiyo kwa sababu hakuna mkubwa ama mdogo, tuseme tuende tukasalimie ndugu zenu wale wako upande ya Nyamira, si ni namna hiyo? Alafu tuishie baadaye tukikula samaki huko upande ya Kisumu, ndio tujue hiyo. Raila anatuambia walikuwa wanaongea juu ya fishing, najua kama hujaonja huwezi kujua kama ni Mungu awabariki na Mungu awalinde. Asanteni sana.
That is President Uhuru Kenyatta finishing his remarks there on a light note, happening at the Kisii State Lodge, one of the biggest events that are happening just after this State Lodge was put in place, just before the marking of the Mashujaa Day celebrations. He says he was hosting the very first batch of visitors. But the greatest thing about today was the fact that we finally have information that the task force that was put in place to work on the Building Bridges initiative has already submitted its report to President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM party leader Raila Odinga. You saw there earlier as they were receiving this particular report, and they say that the stage is now set. The date is the 26th of this particular month, that is Monday, at the Bomas of Kenya right here in Nairobi, where the members of the public and of course other leaders will have a chance to have a sit down at the Bomas of Kenya, and this report is going to be read in details. But between today and Monday, President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged the team working on this report to ensure that as many Kenyans as possible receive a copy of the Building Bridges Initiative report that is just out, so that they can better understand its content and of course engage in an informed conversation about it going forward. But fundamentally speaking, President Uhuru Kenyatta said that we are in a constitutional moment as a country and is urging us to take advantage of this particular opportunity, putting all political differences aside and urging political leaders not to cause division at this particular time. What he says, to quote his words, is that we need to tame ambition for a greater good, looking at the future of Kenya and not what you need as a leader at this particular time. He says presidents will change through generations, but Kenya will remain to be one. President Uhuru Kenyatta is just urging Kenya to just look at this as an opportunity to change the narrative in the country. Earlier on, before he spoke, opposition leader Raila Odinga also talked about this particular moment as an opportunity to save Kenya. He sees the BBI initiative as something that will save the nation, and also talked about how this process is going to take forth going forward, confirming the fact that they are going to be taking the popular initiative route vis-a-vis what was there earlier that was said to be the parliamentary route. Of course, we are going to be engaging in this conversation deeper just to understand more about the BBI initiative and whether it is what is going to save Kenya and heal what is ailing Kenya going forward. But allow me wind up with my guest, Mr. David Njoroge, the chairman of the Road Safety Network Association. Thank you so much, sir, for staying on and creating time for us. At the climax of our conversation, breaking news, the BBI report is out. Did you see this coming? David?
Yeah, sure. I did not see this coming. And it is interesting, and I think it is now to go through that BBI. Said about it, And with what our president has said, I think we are going somewhere as a country. So let us first read. Now, no speculations. We need to see the document and make our judgment.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David Njoroge Kiarie, the chairperson of the Road Safety Network, for creating time for us as we are talking about road safety. We appreciate your time, sir. Now we want to shift gears and talk about what has just been unveiled today. And to help me understand more about the BBI initiative and the status of the nation is none other than Honorable Professor Mohammed Sheikh, the MP for Wajir South. He's a member of the Finance and Health Committee at the National Assembly, also a professor of tropical and infectious diseases. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for coming to the studios this morning.
Thank you very much, Serfine.
All right, what's your take home from the just concluded event, the unveiling of the BBI report? From what Raila Odinga said and the President Uhuru Kenyatta said, what is it that stood out for you about their remarks?
Look, BBI is a baby being waited for by many Kenyans, and that includes the people of Wajir South, who find it to be that Wajir South is the home for BBI. That's what they say back there at home. And so they have been waiting eagerly for this. And we will receive BBI with the two arms, with our two hands. And the reality is that President Uhuru Kenyatta has taken, and the Right Honorable Odinga have taken an initiative, an effort to ensure that Kenyans are united, and they're united over, resource sharing. They're united over peace and stability, and that is what the BBI is all about. It has a legal basis. That's what the president has said, and I do agree with him on that aspect, because it talks about people's participation. Over 7,000 Kenyans have participated in this. That includes about 400 leaders. That includes about youth. That includes about women and children. Women and adults, over 18, that is, at least. So all genders were actually participating in this. So it was a national cohesion. It was a national participation. It is pegged in Article 10 of the Constitution, Chapter 10 of the Constitution, rather. And that is where we are. So, the public participation is pegged in the Constitution. That's what I want to clearly say that. And that is what has been happening.
Satisfied with how that public participation process was done? You have heard Raila Odinga there mentioning how the process was done and how they even went around the counties for what some would call taking reggae to the counties. Do you feel satisfied that actually what is contained in that report is what Kenya has to say?
Sure. Terminologies aside, the fundamental aspect is that every Kenyan, at least, every Kenyan is aware and quite conscious about BBI and what it is doing, what it was for. What I have earlier said is that over 7,000 Kenyans have participated in this, and 400 leaders were consulted and discussed with. It is an obvious thing that it has reached every corner of this country. It has collected all information. It has collected all the views, grievances, and the hopes of the people. So it looked at the grievances, it looked at the hopes of the people, it looked at the challenges, it looked at the issues that people face day to day in Kenya. The Munyonge, as they call it, or Mama Mboga, as they call it. Those were consulted and discussed with on what are your challenges today, what really affects you. And that is where the value stands now in BBI. It means that it has gone to every corner of Kenya. If it has gone to Mandera, if it has gone to Turkana, if it has gone to Wajir, and Wajir South people, then I feel that considerable amount of participation has been done. So those are the fundamentals of BBI. And consulting communities and people, wherever they are, is the fundamental thing for the people's Kenyans' right. It's the Bills of Rights. And that is where it is pegged in as well in the Constitution.
They say that it began in Kisii. That is why it was being unveiled in Kisii, and of course went to Kakamega, Mombasa County, then Makueni, Narok, and Garissa County, and Meru County. Then COVID-19 happened, and the momentum was a bit slowed down. But underground, things have been happening, activities have been taking shape, and today we see the unveiling of the BBI report. It's going to be presented to members of the public to have a chance to read it and see what is contained vis-a-vis some of the proposals that were there earlier. But a lot is to be expected, Mheshimiwa. I believe you interacted with the initial version of the BBI report that was taken through the validation hearings. What is it about the conversation about the BBI initiative and even what was contained in this particular initial document that is close to your heart, something that you feel is what is going to heal what is ailing Kenya?
I always think about the values of the sovereign of Kenyans. And the values of the sovereign of Kenyans is about the sovereign power of Kenyans. And the national conversation is more about stability. It is about looking at the stability of this country. That is what I particularly look at. There are 9 key areas that BBI clearly stipulates and clearly discusses and clearly examines. And that is where we are. So those 9 key areas that ultimately looks at unified and secure Kenya is what we want to see. If there is a conflict, I mean, look, we've had conflicts in the past in elections, in 2007, in 2013, in 2017. Although the conflicts varied, from one to another. Obviously, the 2007 one was quite critical. And if Kenyans disagree on matters of elections, if they disagree on matters of resource sharing, if they disagree on matters of political presence and affiliation, then it means that there is a time that we have to come to the table. And that is where it is. And that is where the conversation begins, looking at the sovereign power of Kenyans. And that is what BBI is trying to discuss. And that is what President Uhuru Kenyatta and Honorable Raila Odinga have decided to say. It is time for us to unify our people, to have a stable and prosperous Kenya, so that we can see that we have opened up the next chapter of high-income earning country. The World Bank, IMF, have considered Kenya to be a middle-income country. We want to go to the next level of high-income country, and that can only be achieved through a stability, through a stable Kenya, a prosperous Kenya that hold hands together so that they can reach the greater heights that they can go.
Mheshimiwa, it's good that you've touched on the issue of divisive elections and taken us back to history on how we've had to suffer the negative impacts of such divisive elections in the past. Talks are now that we need to see how we can come up with a formula that addresses the issue of winner takes it all. This is something that many believe is what has caused us to be on different sides when it comes to electioneering period. How do we then address this issue of winner takes it all at the end of the day?
Look, while I have not mastered all the 9 areas, the key areas that I've not looked at the details and mastered them, and for me to explain each item on each article of that, I see that the fundamentals that has been looked at is that sharing resources and sharing political positions is an important factor, and therefore everyone will come to the table and be satisfied. I mean, I'll give you a very simple example, the way I came to politics. I mean, I was a professional, so I joined on this. In my area, in my country, in my part of the county, we have got what we call negotiated democracy. And people sit down in a tree and discuss that. There are those that disagree with us on negotiated democracy, but I do support negotiated democracy, because people will sit down and negotiate resources and leadership. And that is where we are in Kenya as well. So it is a mini negotiated democracy in this case. So BBI is a mini negotiated democracy where people will be sitting at the table together and say, what are our ills? What are our challenges? Why are we not agreeing on this matter? There will always be a point to agree to disagree on various other factors. But the fundamentals of a stable, prosperous Kenya cannot be an issue that can be taken off the table at any time. It is all about Kenyans. It is all about the prosperity of this country. It is all about the future generation, that we hand the baton of success that we hand over to the future generation. So that is where we are trying to look at, in BBI. And when on the 26th, it is on the 26th, I think, that the president has said, I might have missed that we're going to meet in Boma. In that case, a fully fledged document will be unveiled and will be discussed further in terms of the way we go to the next level. Look, let me just remind you one thing. Article 256 and 257 gives Kenyans the opportunities to be able to amend the constitution. So there is an opportunity for this BBI to be looked and brought to either Parliament or to the public, so the public can look at it again in terms of referendum. But all those details are in the report, and I cannot preempt, although I have not seen every aspect of that report.
But if what ODM leader Raila Odinga said is anything to go by, is they're actually going to be pursuing a popular initiative that will involve doing what was done before. That is to take, he said this is not a document that is cast in stone, that it is going to go through a process of consulting Kenyans. It's going to be taken back to the public to go through it, and the final document is going to be taken they're going to come up with a final document, then they're going to go to the IEBC to be given the green light after collecting, I believe it should be 1 million signatures, then go to the county assembly, the same process that we have seen before. So we are just about to find out how long this is going to take before we actually know the final way forward on the BBI initiative. But then let's talk about something else that he said when the BBI initiative was taken to Meru County. Issues that came forth included land, industrialization, infrastructure, equity, and the one man, one shilling debate. This is something that was debated in the country for quite a number of days in the past, and there are certain regions, certain communities that felt that they are going to be disadvantaged if we use this particular formula in revenue allocation. You seem to be, you represent a region that for a very long time has been considered marginalized. One of the regions that felt that if we go the one man, one shilling formula, then they will be left out when it comes to revenue allocation in the country. What's your take on this particular subject?
Thanks, Serfine. Look, I have always said this, that if Adam and Eve came today to this world, if they returned from heaven to this world, the first place they will identify with themselves is Wajir South, underdeveloped, impoverished, and that has not been looked at. And there is not an inch of tarmac in that part of the country. Can you imagine? So an inch of a tarmac, let alone electricity that is not there, let alone running water that is there. These are challenges that we do have. And by the way, Wajir South is almost the equivalent of Central Province, Nairobi Province, and Western Province combined. And many of your viewers may not know that. And many of the leaders in Kenya may not even know that. So what I am only trying to say here is that the information that the Meru community have relayed, as much as the Wajir community have relayed, is there. The issue of 1 mile, 1 man, or 1 kilometer, 1 man, as they call it, one shilling, 1 man, as they may call it. Wajir South has got 290,000 as population, with almost 23,000 square kilometers. A constituency that is quite barren in terms of underdevelopment. These challenges that Kenyans face, every aspect of it, has been put open and forward by BBI. And that is how they have gone to go and see in every county that they have visited. That's what they have seen. But let me take you back what Honorable Odinga has said about the popular initiative. Yes, the popular initiative will be happening, and that is invoking Article 257 of the Constitution of Kenya. And that through that popular initiative is where Kenyans will be able to come out and say, this is where we want to go. A stable, prosperous, and reliable Kenya. And I'm using the term now, reliable Kenya, where foreign investors can rely on Kenyans on Kenya as a stable country. And that is where our next level will be.
Will we get to that destination, going by what is happening right now? There's already divided lines when it comes to the BBI initiative. Some argue that it's a plot to create more positions for specific people. Others feel it's what we need as a country. Will we ever get to a point where we will all agree to move in one direction?
My simple term, when the chicken comes to roost, the reality will be seen, and that is having an egg. And that egg will be a political realization that Kenya decided kuvuna kwa Kiswahili in Swahili. The hard work of the president of this country, Uhuru Kenyatta, together with Raila Odinga. And therefore that is where we want to take the point home, is to say that the political hullabaloos that are there out there, the political issues that are being raised and the fevers that are being raised by other political camps will obviously be something that will be discussed on the table. No Kenyan is far away from the truth. If it comes into issue of unified Kenya, if it comes into stable Kenya, if it becomes into a prosperous and reliable Kenya. So everyone will come to the table at the end. And therefore, we must agree to disagree. We must see divergent views on any aspect that comes about. Remember, go back to 2010 when the Constitution of Kenya was, was worked around and being released. There were people who disagreed. This very important document that looks at the sovereignty of all Kenyans and the sovereignty of this country, it had a debate of its own. It had a challenge of its own. There has been considerable amount of disagreement on the, I would not call it holy, but I will call it a supreme divine document that looks at the realities on the ground for Kenyans and the future of Kenyans. And therefore, PBI is here to stay. PBI is here to go to every village, to every home, and to be able to be supporting. And by the way, Wajir South will be the home for PBI.
How you put it and the confidence you put in your statement is what stands out, Mheshimiwa. But then, so those who argue that it's a plot to create positions for a few individuals, what do you say about those arguments? Do they hold any water?
Look, I think I will say that for the leaders that disagree the BPI going forward, they have got every right to have divergent view. Let that not be off the table, let's be honest. But over and above, Kenya is bigger than everyone else. Kenyans are more important than individual political, bandwagons. That is where we are. But we will welcome all views of people. That is why BBI has gone to every village in Kenya. That is why BBI team have gone to visit every county in Kenya. And therefore, the most important thing is the 9 elements, or the 9, the 9 elements that are there in the BBI document clearly looks at the bills of rights of communities. And therefore, that is the bottom line for us. Stable, prosperous, and cohesive Kenya is what we need.
Let me take you back on the issue of inclusivity and sort of, amalgamate it with what I just asked you about whether this is a plot to create more positions. Must we expand the executive for us to achieve inclusivity, for us to have every part of the country and every community, every tribe feel that they are represented in the leadership of this country? Is that the best solution we can put on the table?
Serfine, Article 257 gives the opportunity to every Kenyan to be able to have that popular voice. We will hear the voice of all Kenyans. Kenyans will tell us whether that is the way they want it, whether that needs to be amended, that we don't expand the executive or we do expand the executive. We will wait until every Kenyan has seen the document.
But what do you think?
In my view, I think it is the best thing that can happen to Kenyans. And therefore,
expanding the executive?
Expanding the executive is an issue that we really need to discuss on the table. But it will be the best thing to consider every individual, every communities that feel that they have been shortchanged in terms of representation need to be looked at.
At whose cost?
At the cost of the taxpayer, of course, when it comes to that. But you must, buy something at the value it costs. And therefore, the value of prosperity of Kenya cannot be put to scale.
Wow, well said. Now, let's talk about, the issue of marginalization as well, and sort of try to look at how as we expect Monday and a clear understanding of what the BBI initiative is all about, if you look at the marginalized areas and the communities and the tribes that feel like they've been left behind for centuries in this particular country, how do we address that going forward as the BBI report is going to be unveiled on Monday? Recommendations are still welcomed. So as somebody who represents residents of such a region, what do you propose as what will be the solution to the marginalization issue?
The solution to marginalization is the reason as to why I'm representing and I'm saying Wajir South should be split into 3 constituencies rather than into remaining 1 constituency that comprises of almost the equivalent of 89 constituencies in Kenya. And that is what it is, by the way. So if it is an equivalent of 3 constituencies, three provinces, then it means that it is quite substantially a large area, and therefore underrepresentation is there. Therefore, a living testimony are the people of Wajir South, and particularly also the people of Ijara that have seen marginalization in their part. Simply because, and North Horr as well, which is the largest constituency in the country. And by the way, it takes a substantial number of landmass on that. So Kenya is about land and the people. Land starts with that. Without land, there will be no people. But there can be land without people. That's an obvious factor. And it is pegged in the Constitution, by the way. So representations will be something like, addition of constitution or constituencies, additions of wards, locations and sublocations, where the president is represented at that very, at that far end, which is sublocation. And therefore, creation of this will ensure that services is closer to the people. And that discussion has begun in BBI to say, wait a minute, we have been marginalized for over 50 years. What can we do this time to change that? And that is where the conversation of BBI comes in. And that is where Kenyans will say, here is where we were for the last 50 years, without water, healthcare, roads, infrastructures, and all other things that are required for human habitation. So here is where Kenyans will say, we must amend the constitution to accommodate those ones that have been forgotten, that have lived all their lives, not represented quite well, that have lived all their lives, not receiving the resources that the country receives on. And by the way, Raila Odinga, let me put it this way, Honorable Raila Odinga, one of the things that I admire about him is he is a living testimony of an opposition that has put the country to book, the administration or the executive to book for all those governments that have passed, from the time of Moi to the time of Uhuru Kenyatta. He has really put this and the previous governments to book when he was the opposition leader. I mean, I'm not going to talk about right now, simply because...
I was about to query on the use of the word was.
I will not say right now, because right now he has taken a step forward to say that we can discuss things on dialogue rather than discuss things on the streets. And therefore, that is why I'm using the term was. And therefore,
we don't have an opposition in the country right now as we speak?
Well, I mean, that is a question that really requires to be looked at. I mean, what opposition should mean. But we do oppose some motions that come to the parliament, by the way. So I did oppose a number of motions that came to parliament. But that is opposing what is not right or what you perceive not to be right. But what I am trying to say is that devolution came to Kenyans so that it can serve every individual in every corner of this country. And therefore, governments have been devolved and are actually serving people there are challenges, there are issues, there are things that need to be changed. We are growing, we are on the baby steps. We need to realize that over the next few decades, we are going to be able to move forward and devolution will deliver its fruits.
All right. Mheshimiwa, you have been a leader in this country, and I'd like to know whether it's the person placed in that leadership capacity or it's the system that has failed. Because we're talking about marginalization and inclusion and saying, if we expand the positions, we may just solve the problem of some communities feeling that they are left behind in the leadership of this country. But even if you put that person there and the systems and the culture and the behavior is not worked on, still that individualistic character would still replicate what we are witnessing right now. We see even if somebody has been placed at a leadership positions, there's still wars between the clans and the sub-clans. Still it goes down to the lowest level of division. How do we go about that?
Serfine, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, but you will allow me to ruffle my feathers and blow my own trumpet in saying that the reality is this. Past leadership has been a challenge, has been an issue. A vocal representation of the key issues that matters to the communities day in, day out is what has always been lacking. So what is really important to us is that we want to move from that far step and ensure that we are going to be moving to the next dawn. And there is where we want to capture, to say that I don't have a meter of tarmac in my constituency. I don't have electricity in my constituency. This is what I need. But I can only get those resources once Kenyans are united, once we come to the table and the executive are united, once the executives are discussing what really matters to that mama mboga and that herdsman in the bush in Wajir South is actually receiving. So here is where we want to say that it is time to say the gones are bygones. The future is what we want to look at. A future that we work together hand in hand on a unified, realistic development for Kenya is what we want to do. And that is where the discussion of BBI comes in.
All right, we are going to be taking this conversation a notch higher, so stay on with us. And we also appreciate our viewers who have been watching News Check to this point. Today we have seen that unveiling of the Building Bridges Initiative report just a few minutes ago, and the very first copies have been handed over to President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. Going forward is going to be a lot of debate and a lot of opinions and mixed reactions on the contents of this particular document. But Monday the 26th is the day when, according to President Uhuru Kenyatta, the team is going to in details explain what the BBI report is all about at the Bomas of Kenya right here in Nairobi. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma. Allow me to leave it at that as we pave way for Tamrini. Timothy Kipnusu will be taking you through that, talking about more matters that touch on what is relevant to you and I in our country. Thank you so much for creating time for us, but don't go too far. The BBI conversation continues on Tamrini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Born and grow in Jamaica. Mirror, 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 mirror on the wall. Big, big, big. Car big, big, big. House big, big, big. Who is he who sits up in the Mount Zion? King Haile Selassie first. The King of Kings, he is the conquering lion.
Next on.
Kunao ambao wanapenda kujidhalilisha ili wapate msaada ama kunufaika kwa njia ile ama nyingine.
Atakuwa ni mtu ambaye atatangaza kwa kila mtu, ijulikane na dunia mzima kwamba yeye kapatikana na mtihani. Unapokuwa na shida zako, ni vyema kuwa na haya, kutanguliza haya.
तो बस एक ही धुन है, अब तो बस
on the next episode of
Pesa zote hizi zake. Ni maskini. Kasichana kakuja na loan, kakanela vile nene. Kakabeba kila kitu kakabakia. Nyumba hiyo. Nikulae chona kambemukambela ni.
Nenda polisi ukashtaki na uende benki. Ukafungilie mbali hiyo ATM.
Basi nielekezeni vizuri, wacheni hasira bwana.
Next on
Another week, another show.
Yeah, my advice to parents is that you should always support your children's talent, because you never know where it will take them.
We will be learning about a news anchor, newscaster, or reader and the difference.
God will make a way when seems to be no way. God will make a way when seems to be no way.
Next on
Do I look like a murderer?
No one does. But on this, I choose to judge the cover.
Mama, mmajaza shajaribu kukubai. Money solves everything. Money buys you options, which in turn buys you freedom. But you wouldn't know that, right?
Mimi nakuaga na heshima sana. So hawezi nibai.
If we do have the facts, you will confront her.
What if those facts show that your dad is involved?
Don't forget why I brought you here. And still you haven't brought me anything useful.
You do not save Glenn. Glenn is under your wings. But you see, what I don't understand is why you're so scared that he's going to say something. And even if he does, what's this?
Welcome to the city of sin.
this weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Yes, teacher. Farah, go ahead. What are you talking about? Yes, what are you talking about? No, what are you talking about? And that is what you want to know. Of course, that is what I don't know. Mr. Teacher, I would never do that unless you put me to the war. Sukasa es mi casa. Are you kidding me?
Why would my mother be dropping Farah and yet she's no longer living in our house?
You know, that day he was acting Ambiti Kenji. I couldn't remember this woman. Kumbe she's your mother.
Mr. Teacher, I think you will have to excuse me. I will be back in 1 minute. I will be back.
Fariku kukutana kwenye tamrini ya Channel 1. Asante sana kwa kuchagua runinga ya KBC Channel 1 iweze kukupasha yanayojiri siku muhimu zaidi katika kalenda ya Jamhuri ya Kenya, mtazamaji, ambayo bila shaka ilikuwa ikisubiriwa kwa hamu na gamu, nyuta na mate, siku ambayo bila shaka ngoja imeweza kufikia tamati kuhusiana na ile ripoti ya jopo la maridhiano, baada ya jopo hilo kuweza kuwasilisha ripoti hiyo kwa kiongozi wa taifa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta pamoja na kiongozi wa chama cha upinzani ambaye vile vile ni aliyekuwa waziri mkuu Raila Odinga. Miemko za hisia tayari zimeanza kutokota kuhusiana na masuala hayo, mtazamaji. Tutakuwa naangazia swala hilo na nitakuwa nazungumza pamoja na Profesa Mohamed Sheikh ambaye amekuwa kwenye kitengo cha News Check na Serfine Achieng, na vile vile nitakuwa nazungumza na Dr. Dan Migosi ambaye bila shaka ni mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kiuchumi. Lakini kwanza tuangazie shajara ya wanahabari. Naitwa Timothy Kipnusu, mfasiri wa lugha ya ishara ni Lucy Mwaura. Unaweza kuzungumza nasi kupitia mitandao ya kijamii kwenye kurasa yetu wa Facebook KBC Channel 1, kwenye Twitter @KBC Channel 1. Maoni yako ni ipi kuhusiana na swala hili la ripoti ya jopo la maridhiano? Kama alivyodokeza, napiga gumzo na mbunge wa Wajir Kusini Profesa Mohamed Sheikh pamoja na Dr. Dan Migosi ambaye ni mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kiuchumi. Karibuni sana kwenye kitengo cha mahojiano.
Asante sana.
Mheshimiwa, tayari tulikuwa tushakukaribisha. Naam, wengi wanazungumzia kuhusiana na ripoti hii tayari, na kwa kiduchu tulikuwa tumetizama baadhi ya masuala ambayo yameweza kuwekwa wazi, japo tutakuwa tunatarajia kwamba Jumatatu ijayo katika Bomas, katika ile kule Bomas tutakuwa tunapata masuala haya kwa ufasaha kuhusiana na ripoti hii kwa umma. Kianza na Migosi, kuhusiana na ripoti yenyewe, matarajio yako ni yapi kuhusiana na masuala haya, ikizingatia kwamba kulikuwa jana na hisia tofauti kutoka kwa viongozi kama vile naibu wa rais Dr. William Ruto, Raila Odinga akisema kwamba sasa ndio mwanzo mkoko umealika maua.
Nashukuru sana kwa mahala hapa na kuzungumzia kuhusu hii ripoti. Tumekuwa tukisubiri kwa muda mrefu na sasa imetokea leo hivi, imepatiwa rais na Raila Amolo Odinga. Mimi matarajio yangu ni ya kwamba ile BPI itaweza kuleta matarajio makubwa na iweze kuleta solutions kwa mizozo zetu tumekuwa nazo katika kila miaka mitano, miaka 10 ya kura, na ya kwamba tu watu wasiwe na uhasama, kwa sababu unapoangalia wakati mtu ameingia kama sasa parliament, particularly the White House, unakuta ya kwamba anachukua kila kitu, ule mpinzani mwenzake ama wapinzani wanabaki hawana kitu chochote. Na sio hiyo peke yake, tumefika wakati tunataka chonge constitution yetu ama ile document yetu, ili iwe sio document tulioipata kutoka kwa wakoloni ama watu wengine ama tumecopy and paste na haitufai. Nataka tupate document yenye inafaa sisi, itakao inua uchumi wetu, inue watu wetu, itulete pamoja na tuwe wa Kenya kama moja, si wakati na gawanyika tukisema ya kwamba huyu ametoka ama hapa pale. Ile document natarajia ni ya kwamba sasa itatulete pamoja, tuwe wa Kenya na lugha moja na kuzungumza sauti moja, kila kitu.
Na mtazamaji, kama unavyotazama kwenye runinga yako, kiwambo chako, ni picha za moja kwa moja ambazo zinakujia kutoka kwenye gatuzi la Kisii. Kiongozi wa taifa anaendeleza harakati ya kuzindua miradi tofauti ya maendeleo katika eneo hilo, na anatarajiwa kuweza kufungua kufungua benki kuu ya Kenya katika eneo hilo la Kisii. Tutakuwa tunaweza kurejea kule kuweza kupata ufasaha wa taarifa hiyo, na arifiwa kwamba ni afisi benki kuu ya Kenya kwenye gatuzi hilo la Kisii. Mheshimiwa Professor Sheikh, kuhusiana na mdahalo kuhusu kufanikisha ugatuzi mashinani, maana kumekuwa na mdahalo kwamba jopo hili la maridhiano linapania kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba shughuli katika maeneo ya mashinani na kuhakikisha kwamba fedha zinaweza kuongezwa katika mashinani, kuhusiana na fedha kuongezwa kutoka 15% hadi 35%. Inaashiria nini katika kuhakikisha kwamba ugatuzi umefaulu nchini?
Mwanzo, asante Timothy. Mwanzo nataka kupongeza Rais Kenyatta na Honorable Raila kwa kuchukua jukumu ya kuwa wameshikana mkono na wakasema tutakaa katika kiti na tuangalie katika mezani na tuangalie vile tunaweza kusaidia Kenya na kuangalia vile tunaweza wacha mpango ambaye itasaidia wa Kenya kwa milele. Na hilo jambo inamaanisha ya kuwa wanataka kuangalia mambo za constitutions na kadhalika. Na katika hiyo constitution pia inasema ya kuwa ni vipi watu wanaweza kushare au wanaweza kugawanya hali za rasilimali la nchi. Na katika hiyo mpango ndio imekuwa ya kuwa watu wameketi chini na wakaenda wakatembea katika kila county. Na katika hiyo kukuta hizo majadiliano ya watu kutoka katika counties ndio kimefanya ikuwe wameandika katika BBI ya kuwa wanasema ni hivi ndio watu watakuwa wakishare revenues au wakiangalia mambo za maendeleo katika nchi na mambo pia ya siasa vile wanaweza kushare katika viti. So winner take all might be a challenge at all times.
Naam. Ukizungumzia kuhusu swala hilo kuhusiana na uchaguzi, wakati uchaguzi kila wakati kwamba yule ambaye ndiye ameweza kuchaguliwa na wananchi ndio anaongoza taifa na wampatie nafasi yule pengine kiongozi wa upinzani ambaye alikuwa pengine nambari ya pili na pengine kura chache aliweza kushindwa kwa kura chache, pengine inaashiria nini? Na je, utaona kwamba itaweza kupambana na hili swala la mizozo ambayo imekuwa hapa na pale kuhusiana na masuala ya uchaguzi, watu kutokubali ushindi na kwenda mahakamani na masuala kama hayo?
Katika hii uchapizi wa BBI iko na jambo 9 na katika hizo jambo 9 kinaangalia ni vipi 9 items. Katika hizo jambo 9 inaangalia ni vipi Wakenya wanaweza kaa chini kuungana mkono kuangalia vile wanaweza kusaidiana katika mambo za mamlaka na kadhalika. Na siwezi nikajua kwa sasa ni vipi waliandikisha katika hizo mambo za kuangalia mamlaka tutashare namna gani. Hilo ni jambo lingine. Jambo muhimu sana ya kuangalia ni ya kuwa ni vipi watu wanaweza kuungana mkono wakae chini waangalia mambo za amani na maendeleo na upendo. Hilo ndio basis au principles ya katika hii jambo la BBI. Na mpaka tuangalie ni vipi Wakenya wanaweza kuja pamoja waungane mkono waendelee kuendesha Kenya vizuri katika kiwango nyingine ya juu. Hilo ndio jambo muhimu sana katika Wakenya. Katika sharing ya powers na positions, hilo ni jambo lingine. Na si jambo ambaye iko katika principles ya BBI. Ni jambo moja tu wamezungumza juu yake, lakini that is not the basis na principles. Basis na principles ni mambo za amani, utulivu, upendo na maendeleo. Bila shaka kuweza kutuliza joto la kisiasa vile vile kuhusiana na swala hili. Pengine Migosi, unasema nini kuhusiana na swala hili la mgao wa fedha kwenye eneo la mashinani kuweza kuongezwa? Maana yake ni mapendekezo ambayo yalitolewa na jopo hilo kutoka 15% hadi 35%, na swala ambalo Profesa Sheikh amedokeza kuhusiana na kuhakikisha kwamba hakuna mizozo ambayo inatokea baada ya uchaguzi.
Ile jambo ni nzuri. Mimi nikiangalia katika hilo jambo na yale wamezungumza katika ile jopo wamefanya vizuri kwa kweli kuweza kuongeza zile fedha, lakini kitu kinachoshangaza ni ya kwamba tumekuwa tukioperate na 15%, na hizo 15% zimeleta mizozo na ni kweli tukakuwa na shida nyingi. Sasa tumeongeza zikakuwa more than double 35%. Sioni ni kwa nini ama ni formula gani iliyotumika ili tuweze kufika kiwango cha 35, kwa sababu tulikuwa tuna operate na 15% ya resource, na hiyo 15% ya resource kama hakutakuwa na mipangilio imewekwa ili ya kwamba county government zipatue nguvu na uwezo ili ziweze kutumia zile fedha vizuri, utaona ni kana ya kwamba main government ama national government inaweza kuwa na deficit, kwa sababu kutoka 15% mpaka 35% ni kusema ni more than 100% wamepatiwa. Iwapo hakutakuwa na njia mikakati ili iwekwe ya kwamba county government wapatue chukumu za kufanya supplement national government katika mashinani, zile fedha ziweza kuingia katika mifuko mibaya, na hapo ndipo utakaopoteza Kenya itaendelea kuwa na umaskini. Lakini iwapo utakuwa na mikakati imetengenezwa katika constitution, kuwe na audit ya kutosha ili ya kwamba pesa zile zikaingia katika mifuko za watu, basi hapo itakuwa ni vema na vizuri kabisa. Lakini kama hakuna mikakati, hiyo pesa tutakuwa tumerudi nyuma, kwa sababu 35% itakuwa ishaenda na haitafanya kazi. Hata sasa unapoangalia kaunti zetu, kama vile mheshimiwa amesema ya kwamba mule anakotoka hamna stima, hamna maji, hamna barabara, hamna lolote, hospitali hazipo, zile ziko ni chache na diduni na zina madawa. Iwapo utaendelea mwenendo kama ule, tutazidi kukaa na umaskini na kuna chochote tutakachokifanya ama kukitenda.
Asante Migosi. Profesa Sheikh, pengine zungumzie kuhusiana na swala hili la kulikuwa na tunaona kama ni mvutano kidogo baina ya viongozi. Itakuweje kuhusiana na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta pamoja na naibu na kiongozi wa chama cha upinzani Raila Odinga kuweza kuwashirikisha Wakenya wote? Manake hilo ndilo kulikuwa wito wake naibu wa Rais William Ruto. Na vile tunazungumzia kuhusiana na kuhakikisha kwamba ugatuzi unafaulu, na wewe unatoka katika eneo ambalo inafahamika kama eneo ambalo limetelekezwa kuhusiana na masuala ya rasilimali na masuala kama hayo. Pengine ukiweka masuala haya kwenye mizani, mheshimiwa.
Mwanzo katika lile jambo muhimu sana lazima tutaje ni ya kuwa mazungumzo inaanza katika meza. Ikianza katika meza ndio inaelekea kwenye inapoelekea. Na inaelekea katika harakati ambaye Wakenya wanatarajia. Na katika harakati hiyo ni ya kuwa mkubwa wa mpinzani, kiongozi wa mpinzani Raila Odinga, Honorable Raila Odinga, na kiongozi wa taifa Rais Kenyatta, wote wameketi chini na wakaonea ya kuwa hivi ndio vile tunaweza angalia tukielekea mbele. 50 years tuliyopita au miaka 50 tuliyopita, kulikuwa na mzozo wa katika kisiasa. Kulikuwa na mzozo ya kuwa kila election ikitokezea au katika ushindani, kila ushindani ikitokezea
kuna mwagikaji wa damu
kabisa. Na kuna mzozo kinatokezea. Hilo ndio foundation au precursor tuwasema katika Kiingereza ya hii mazungumzo ya BBI. Na wakianza kuzungumza mwanzo hivyo, ugatuzi ambaye kimeenewa au kimeanzishwa 2013 ndio itakuwa itaongezeka zaidi katika fedha, vile mwenzangu daktari alisema hivyo Migosi. Lakini shida ambayo iliyoko ni 100% increase, itakuwa ni shida mara moja. Hilo ndio jambo ambalo tunaweza angalia. Lakini nirudi katika swala yako ya viongozi wengine. Viongozi wengine wanaweza kuwa na maoni tofauti mbali. Na katika hiyo maoni yao wanaweza kusema ya kuwa sisi tuwaona ya kuwa mnataka kuongeza viti, adhifa ya viti. Wengine wanaweza sema sio hiyo peke yake, lakini ni jambo lingine. Tunataka wakuje mezani watuambie ni jambo gani lingine wanakataa katika BBI. Ni nini isipokuwa mambo za viti peke yake. Mazungumzo muhimu sana. So kukaa katika meza ndio kile wamekataa. Sasa Kenya itasimama kweli? Itaendelea. Kwa hivyo tuendelee kuguruma kabisa.
Kuhusiana na swala hilo la eneo hilo ambalo unatoka kutelekezwa, kuhusiana na rasilimali ambapo tunazungumzia kwa sasa kubadilisha Kenya kuwa na mwamko mpya katika taifa, ili kwamba Mkenya anapoketi anahisi kuwa Mkenya, hajuti kuwa Mkenya bali anajivunia kuwa Mkenya. Kuhusiana na rasilimali kwamba iwe kwamba ni sio maeneo mengine pesa nyingi zimeenda kule, na kuna maeneo ambayo kuna shida tofauti, masuala ya afya, kuboresha afya, miundo msingi iko duni, masuala kama hayo. Pengine swala hilo
timu ya BBI walipoenda katika counties walianza kuzungumza juu ya mambo za walianza kusikia mambo za shida za watu. Katika haswa watu wa Wajir South wakakaa chini na wao katika Wajir County Hall, na walipoketi pale wakaambia timu ya BBI ya kuwa hawana maji, hawana stima, hawana hospitali, hawana skuli. Wakasema hilo jambo na ikaandikwa katika BBI kusema ni vipi tuwaweza kuhakikisha kuwa hawa wananchi ambao wamedhulumiwa miaka 50 tuliyopita, ni vipi wanaweza pata mambo za maji, mambo za stima, mambo za hospitali na maskuli. Hizo ndio jambo ambaye kimeandikwa katika BBI. Kwa hivyo sauti la watu imeandikwa katika hilo kitabu. Na katika hilo ndio the next level ambaye itakuwa imeangaliwa na wataendelea kuangalia.
Kwa hivyo ni masuala ya kusubiri.
Lazima supra huvuta kheri, si ndio? Supra huvuta kheri. Kwa hivyo katika hilo supra ndio na utaratibu hiyo ambaye tuweza kuchukua kuhakikisha ya kuwa mazungumzo ya watu haijaenda katika kitabu peke yake. Kime actually walked the talk.
Bila shaka.
Hilo ndio jambo tunataka.
Na asante. Pengine swala hilo Migosi, wanavyosema wale wa Kingenge, one man one shilling, mtu mmoja na shilingi moja, kuhusiana na kujumuishaji, kuhakikisha kwamba rasilimali mashinani na maeneo yote ya taifa hili imewekwa kwa usawa.
Na mimi sio sema ya kwamba hilo jambo limewekwa kwa usawa, kwa sababu kuna maeneo mengine yamo kama pale mheshimiwa nakotoka. Ukisema ni one man one vote, ili ya one shilling, hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba mahali kuna watu wengi, population ni kubwa, wala watu watafaidika. Wala watu wengine walio katika mahali yaliyotengwa, ama kama vile mheshimiwa anasema, isipokuwa sema ya kwamba wamedhulumiwa, ya kwamba wamekuwa disadvantaged kwa sababu wamekuwa mahali pale. Tukifanya ile formulation itakuwa ni mbaya. Lazima tuangalie eneo, tuangalie geographical location mahali iko, tuone maendeleo yale yamefanywa, ili ya kwamba apatiwe percentage, ili ya kwamba percentage fulani afanya development mahala fulani, mahali hakuja kuwa na hospitali hakuna lolote, hakuna shule zile azimo, au shule zile zimo lakini zingine hazina walimu. Hizi ni mambo zimeweza kuathiri watu wengi kama sasa wale wa North Eastern na mahali kwingine. Hiyo formula ya 1 shilling 1 vote 1 man haiwezi fanya 100%. Lazima ikarabatiwe kidogo ili tuseme ya kwamba katika sehemu fulani ni percentage gani tutapatia maendeleo ya aina fulani, maendeleo ya ukulima, kama ni ukulima wa vyakula fulani ama ukulima wa mifugo ama ukulima wa aina fulani, ili uweze kuangaliwa, ili ya kwamba tusije tukasema ya kwamba tuseme hivyo tufanye generalization, na hiyo itakuwa ni mbaya kabisa, kwa sababu watu wengine wataumia, na iwapo watu wengine wale walio wengi concentrated mahali fulani kama vile Nairobi for instance, pengine watafaidika zaidi. Mimi nadhani ya kwamba kama vile mheshimiwa amesema, na kubaliana naye kabisa, wao wakuje, sisi wengine hatutaweza kufika pale kuzungumza pamoja na wao. Wao kama viongozi tumewachagua, waketi chini watupatie the best solution, lakini katika interest ya nchi hii. Kwa sababu sisemi ya kwamba Kenya sisi tuko maskini, hatuna umaskini. Sisi wenyewe maskini ni ya kujitakia.
Asante Migosi. Tukizungumzia kuhusiana na kuwa na chaguzi ambazo ni ambayo hakuna umwagikaji wa damu, na umezungumzia kuhusiana na masuala hayo 9 ambayo jopo la maridhiano limekuwa likiangazia zaidi lilipokuwa likipeleka uhamasisho mashinani kuhusiana na kupambana na ukabila, kupambana na chaguzi tatanishi, ufisadi, masuala kama pengine kuhakikisha kwamba kuna usawa na masuala kama hayo. Pengine zungumzie kuhusiana na swala hili la wakati wa kufanyika kwa uchaguzi na suluhu mwafaka kuhusiana na swala hili la tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka nchini IBC, manake hapo ndipo kidogo kunakuwa na kunyoshea vidole vya lawama. Kwa sasa baadhi ya viongozi wamekuwa wakizungumzia kwamba hatuna makamishna, vile vile hatuna afisa mkuu mtendaji katika tume hiyo huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka nchini IBC. Pengine kwenda mbele, wito wako utakuwa upi Profesa Sheikh kuhusiana na kuhakikisha kwamba tume hiyo iko dhabiti, hakuna mwingilio wa kisiasa na kwamba inaendesha zoezi kwa njia huru na haki?
Kuangalia kwangu na vile ninavyoona ni ya kuwa lazima tuangalie mambo za siasa kando kuliko jambo la constitution. Kwa sababu constitution ni kitu muhimu sana. Ukiangalia article au kipengee kwa Kiswahili, kipengee 256 na kipengee 257 inasisitiza ya kuwa katika constitution inasisitiza ya kuwa Wakenya lazima waulizwe ni vipi tuweza endelea mbele tukiangalia mpango ya kuchange to rectify the constitution or to amend the constitution rather. Ni vipi tunaweza fanya hivyo? Wakenya wako na hiyo fursa, na katika hiyo fursa vile Wakenya wanataka kufanya kama sasa Rais Kenyatta na Bwana Odinga walisema ya kuwa wanataka kuangalia kipengee ya 257 yani kuregesha jambo katika watu au katika wananchi. Kwa hivyo walipoangalia hivyo, sasa Kenyans have got the bills of rights ambaye inawapatia fursa ya kuwa lazima wakuwe katika meza wakisema ya kuwa hivi ndio tunataka kuendelea. Sasa wanasiasa wakiingia katika kati ya hiyo mpango ambaye kimetayarishwa ya kuwa wananchi wapate fursa yao na watumie fursa yao ya kuangalia kipengee hizo niliposoma, inahitajika ya kuwa wanasiasa wakae kando, wananchi wapate fursa yao kimakini, wakiwa hawana shida na hitilafu za kisiasa kinaweza kudhuru mpango mzuri ambaye Kenya ungepata. Na nimekubaliana na Daktari Migosi ya kuwa alisema Wakenya hakuna umaskini Kenya. Na ni kweli ukiangalia jambo moja, umaskini tumejiletea sisi wenyewe. Na by the way, ukiangalia IMF, International Monetary Fund, na the World Bank vile wanasisitiza ni ya kuwa Kenya ni middle income country. Na next time katika zile aid au usaidizi tulikuwa tukipata kutoka nchi za ng'ambo na kutoka World Bank na IMF zitasimamishwa. Na ni sasa ndio fursa muhimu sana tuketi chini tuangalie ni vipi tunaweza kushare katika hizo revenues, tunaweza kuangalia mpango za kuendelea mbele, kuangalia mpango ya rectify constitution au kubadilisha, sio kubadilisha, lakini kuangalia vile kurekebisha
vipengele fulani,
kipengele fulani. Ni hivyo ndio jambo muhimu sana. Kwa hivyo wanasiasa waende wakapige ngoma ya siasa kwingine, lakini si kwa jambo ambalo ni muhimu sana kwa Kenya,
ambayo inamhusu mwananchi. Tukitamatisha pengine kuhusiana na swala hili la kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanajumuishwa, maana tunazungumzia kwamba 1.7% ya vijana wamepoteza kazi kutokana na janga la COVID-19. Na hata kabla ya janga la COVID-19 kuna wengi zaidi ambao wako na ajira, na ukitizama pendekezo ambayo tumepewa kwa kiduchu tu ni kwamba kutakuwa na tume ambayo itakuwa inashughulikia masuala ya vijana. Pengine nikipata wasia wako mheshimiwa, nikianza pengine na Migosi, then mheshimiwa tupatie wasia wa mwisho.
Mimi nasema ya kwamba hilo jambo ni jambo zuri sana, hasa kwa ile tume imewekwa ili shughulikia ya mambo ili ya kwamba vijana wetu waweze kushughulikiwa. Kwa kweli ya kwamba vijana wetu walipoteza kazi, ajira, wakapoteza kila kitu, na ni kama kwanza tunaanza upya tena. Natumai ya kwamba ile tume inaweza kuangalia vijana tena, iweze kufanya njia ya kwamba vijana wale walikuwa wamepoteza ajira waweze kupata ajira tena, wale walikuwa wamepoteza biashara zao ziweze kurudi tena, na wale walimo katika shule wapatiwe matumaini ya kwamba kuna Kenya na Kenya inayoendelea. Kwa hivyo hiyo tume ni tume mzuri, na iwapo haitakuwa na mapendeleo yoyote ama sehemu yoyote ama watu wote, ili ya kwamba ni tume itakaofanya kazi bila mapendeleo na iangalie usawa na uchumi wa nchi.
Asante Migosi. Pengine neno lako vile vile kuhusu swala hili kitamatisha?
Mimi yangu ni kusema ya kuwa lazima tushike BBI katika mikono miwili na tuendelee mbele, tupatie Wakenya fursa yao ya kuwa wako na bills of rights katika constitution ambayo iko pegged, na wako na haki ya kuwa waone ni jambo gani wanaletewa na ni vipi Kenya inaweza kuendelea mbele. Na kama viongozi wameketi chini na wakaona eneo hili ndio tunataka kuchukua au ni hivi ndio tunataka kuelekeza Kenya, basi hilo jambo ni muhimu sana. Watu wote wakae chini wazungumze, na washafanya katika 47 counties, wakaendelea na wakasikia sauti la kila mtu. 7,000 au 7,000 ya watu wakasema mambo yao
bila shaka.
So kwa hivyo hili ni jambo muhimu sana na lazima tushike katika mikono miwili na tuelekee mbele katika steps nyingine.
Asante sana mheshimiwa, kwa muda wako pamoja na Migosi, na arifu muda umetamatika. Mtazamaji, kufikia hapa tuna la ziada. Nimekuwa nikizungumza na Profesa Mohamed Sheikh ambaye ni mbunge kutoka Wajir Kusini, hali kadhalika nimekuwa nikizungumza naye Dr. Dan Migosi ambaye ni mhadhiri ambaye vile vile ni mtaalamu wa masuala ya kijamii. Asante sana kwa kutizama. Kwa niaba ya wale wote waliofanikisha, naitwa Timothy Kipnusu, mfasiri wa lugha ya ishara, amekuwa ni Losi Mwaura. Endelea kutizama. Kwaheri.
Hamjamboni watazamaji wangu, popote ulipo, kwenye nyumba yako, pengine ni mahali pa kazi, nataka nikaweze kukukaribisha ili ya kwamba tukaweze kuhimizana neno kwa ufupi. Majina yangu ni mchungaji Israel Sande na hudumu